Chapter 33-45. Black Tortoise World. Tea Garden. Everyone, please take a seat. Qin Feiyang stood in front of the tea table and extended his hand with a smile. The tea table could seat 8 people. However, if they were to squeeze, a dozen people wouldn't be a problem. Wait a moment. Where are the Ice Dragon's sacred sword, the castle, and our heaven-defying divine weapons? The Demon Hall Master looked at Qin Feiyang and asked. Yeah, why don't I see them? The Alliance Master and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, the Ice Dragon's sacred sword has fallen. Everyone was dumbfounded. If it was someone else who said it, they wouldn't believe it. However, it was Qin Feiyang who said it, so it must be true. Another sovereign divine weapon had fallen. It was no wonder that the horsetail whisk would submit to Qin Feiyang. After witnessing the fall of the Ice Dragon's sacred sword, would it dare to not submit? Qin Feiyang smiled again and said, as for the castle and the others, they are all using their origin energy to repair their damaged bodies. I see. The Demon Hall Master heaved a sigh of relief. He thought that the Demon Hall's sovereign divine weapon had betrayed them like the horsetail whisk. If it had really betrayed them, then the Demon Hall would be in the same situation as the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Their status would instantly drop by a lot. The Vice Alliance Master pondered for a moment. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Feiyang, although the Blood Hall's sovereign divine weapon has submitted, you have to be careful. After all, it's a sovereign divine weapon. It's not something we can control. Master, don't worry. It won't dare to betray us even if it has 100 guts. Qin Feiyang smiled confidently. So confident? Everyone looked at him in surprise. You probably don't know that there is a kind of oath in this world. This oath is different from ordinary oaths. It will really come true. Qin Feiyang said. What? An oath that will come true? The group looked at each other. That's right. Previously, in the Star River, the Ice Dragon Holy Sword was heavily injured by us and forced to swear this oath. However, it was the same as you are now, it did not take it seriously. In the blink of an eye, it was destroyed by the heavenly lightning. In other words, its death was not because of us. Instead, it was because it violated its oath and was punished by the heavens. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. This, breaking the oath and suffering the wrath of the heavens? To the Alliance Master and the others, this was simply a fantasy story. Kid, are you sure you're not joking with us? Elder Hua frowned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, and then a trace of ridicule flashed in his eyes. He said with a smile, why don't you give it a try? Forget it. This is a matter of life and death. How can I play around casually? Elder Hua was slightly stunned. He waved his hand and asked, so, the horsetail whisk also made such an oath? Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded, and laughed. It personally witnessed the Ice Dragon Holy Sword being destroyed by the heavenly lightning, so right now, it is more reliable than anyone else. That's good. The Vice Alliance Master nodded and sat on a stone bench. He smiled and said, then let's make some tea. Let's celebrate. Everyone looked at each other and smiled as they sat down. The Divine Python couple laid on the Alliance Master's shoulders as usual. Qin Feiyang took out a tea set and started brewing tea, but his gaze would occasionally look at the 10 great elders of the Demon Palace. What's wrong? The 10 great elders quickly noticed Qin Feiyang's abnormality and couldn't help but look at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said with a smile as he brewed the tea, I want to know, which elder was secretly cooperating with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance in the past. To put it politely, it was cooperation. To put it bluntly, it was a spy, a traitor. Cooperating with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. 9 of the elders were startled. There was actually such a thing. However, there was a middle-aged man who seemed to be panicking. At the same time, Demon Palace Lord, Elder Hua, Chu Yun, and the Vice Alliance Master all glanced at the middle-aged man. Because they knew in their hearts who the spy was. Qin Feiyang glanced at the 10 great elders. When he saw the middle-aged man's abnormality, his heart was as clear as a mirror. However, he didn't say anything else. Because this was an internal matter of the Demon Palace, he didn't want to interfere. After brewing the tea, he poured it for the group of elders one by one. Then, he picked up the teacup and stood up with a smile. Thank you for your help this time. I, Qin Feiyang, may not be a kind person, but I still know how to repay kindness. I will remember this kindness and slowly repay it in the future when I have the chance. We're all family, why are you being so polite? The Vice Alliance Master waved his hand. Yes. Besides, we helped you out of selfishness. Our Demon Palace wants to borrow your hand to get rid of our old enemy, the Blood Palace. The Alliance Master of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance also wants to borrow your hand to take revenge. All in all, this is a matter of mutual benefit. It's good for everyone. Elder Hua smiled faintly. Although that's the case, without your help these years, senior brother Feng Zi and I wouldn't have been so successful in the Sky Cloud realm. Especially you, Elder Hua. We'll remember every bit of help you've given us. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone. This junior uses tea in place of wine to toast you all. Qin Feiyang held the teacup with both hands and bowed to the group of people. Then, he raised his head and drank it in one gulp. The group of elders looked at each other and revealed a gratified smile. No matter how strong Qin Feiyang became, no matter how the situation of the Sky Cloud realm changed, Qin Feiyang always had a grateful heart. Unlike other young people. Once they gained power, they began to get carried away. They didn't even know their own surname, let alone the kindness of others. That was a joke. It was already good enough that they didn't bite the hand that fed them. Therefore, they sincerely admired Qin Feiyang's character and conduct. Even if this time, Qin Feiyang rose because of them, they felt that it was worth it. This wasn't a joke. If the Demon Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance hadn't joined forces to help, how could Qin Feiyang defeat the Blood Hall? He couldn't win at all. He could only run for his life, let alone subduing the Horsetail Whisk and the Blood Hall Master. Therefore, it wasn't an exaggeration to say that the Demon Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance had made Qin Feiyang what he was. Since we've said it out loud, let's settle some things. The Demon Palace Hall Master took a sip of tea and looked at the people of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. What's the matter? The Alliance Master looked at him suspiciously. The Demon Palace Hall Master pointed at the middle-aged man and said, "Get up." The middle-aged man shuddered and hurriedly put down the teacup. He stood up and looked at the Demon Palace Hall Master with fear. Aren't you curious? Why did Qin Feiyang say that someone from our Demon Palace is secretly working with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance? The Demon Palace Hall Master looked at the other 9 elders and then pointed at the middle-aged man and said, "I'll tell you now. Our 8th elder was bribed by the Vice Alliance Master to help the Rogue Cultivator Alliance investigate the situation of our Demon Palace." What? The 9 elders immediately looked at the middle-aged man. The middle-aged man's eyes trembled. He knelt in front of the Demon Palace Hall Master and begged, "Palace Hall Master, I know my mistake. Don't kill me. Can you give me a chance?" The middle-aged man looked at Qin Feiyang and begged, "I contributed to the destruction of the Blood Hall this time. Please help me plead for mercy. I'm very grateful to you for this matter, but I really can't interfere in this matter." Qin Feiyang shook his head. The middle-aged man fell into despair when he heard this. Although the Demon Palace Hall Master was a woman, anyone who knew her methods. She was decisive and ruthless. Especially when dealing with traitors, she would never show mercy. The Demon Palace Hall Master looked at the middle-aged man and said to the Alliance Master and the other two, since he likes your Rogue Cultivator Alliance, from now on, he will go to your Rogue Cultivator Alliance. What? The middle-aged man looked at the Demon Palace Hall Master in shock. Qin Feiyang, Chu Yun, Elder Hua, the 9 Elders, the Alliance Master, the Vice Alliance Master, the Hall of Famers, and Shen Mang and his wife were all stunned. They originally thought that the Demon Palace Hall Master would kill the middle-aged man in front of them. They didn't expect her to ask him to go to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Did this mean that she wouldn't pursue the matter? According to my character, you definitely won't be able to live. However, I've already seen through it. Killing you won't help. Why don't I give you a way out? The Demon Palace Hall Master sighed. Thank you, Palace Hall Master. The middle-aged man was extremely grateful. He kowtowed 3 times to the Demon Palace Hall Master. However, you have to remember that you only have 1 chance. If you miss it, no one will give you a second chance. Do you understand? The Demon Palace Hall Master said. Understood. I'll definitely remember. The middle-aged man nodded. Elder Hua shook his head and smiled. He looked at the Alliance Master and the others and said, now that I think about it, your Rogue Cultivator Alliance has profited. It wasn't easy for our Demon Palace to nurture an elder, but you guys benefited. Profited? The Alliance Master smiled disapprovingly. He looked at the middle-aged man and shook his head. To be honest, I don't dare to accept someone who can be bribed so easily. Hearing this, the middle-aged man panicked again. He could accept being expelled from the Demon Palace. After all, he had made a mistake. However, if the Rogue Cultivator Alliance didn't accept him, where could he go in the future? The Vice Alliance Master and the Hall of Famers were also silent. Although the Vice Alliance Master was very familiar with the middle-aged man, that was only using their relationship. If the middle-aged man really entered the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, he would also panic. This was because he had interacted with the middle-aged man the most and knew what kind of person he was. Greedy, selfish, and without any loyalty. If such a person really entered the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, it might not be a good thing. Olji, what do you mean? When the middle-aged man saw this, he couldn't help but glare at the Vice Alliance Master and shouted, if it weren't for your instigation, would I have cooperated with you? The Vice Alliance Master glanced at him and still didn't say anything. Suddenly, his eyes flashed and he pointed at Qin Feiyang who was drinking tea. He looked at the middle-aged man and said, if you want our Rogue Cultivator Alliance to accept you, you have to sign an enslavement seal with my disciple. What? The middle-aged man's body stiffened. Of course, if you don't want to, we won't force you. Moreover, for the sake of our past relationship, we won't do anything to you. You can leave now. The Vice Alliance Master said. The middle-aged man clenched his hands and roared, okay, I'll leave. I don't believe that without you, I can't find a place to stand in the Sky Cloud realm. At his level of cultivation, who would be willing to be controlled by others and put their lives in the hands of others? No one was willing. Just like the Blood Hall Master and the others. If it weren't for the situation, would they sign an enslavement seal with Qin Feiyang? It would never happen. Seeking recommendation votes. Chapter 3346. However, no one asked him to stay. The Devil Palace and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance could not trust the 8th Elder. Naturally, Qin Feiyang would not trust him either. If such a person stayed by his side, he would have to be on guard at all times. Of course. If this person was willing to sign the slave seal, it would be a different story. However, he was not willing. There was no other way. An uncontrollable person who was at the perfection sovereign realm and had mastered a supreme profound. If he stayed in the Black Tortoise world, who knew what he would do? In short, an uncontrollable person was a hidden danger. In this world, no one would be willing to keep a hidden danger by their side. Facing the attitude of Qin Feiyang and the others, the Eighth Elder became angrier and angrier. Especially towards the Vice Alliance Master, his heart was filled with hatred. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "If this place does not keep people, there will be a place to keep people. Send me out. Don't be anxious. When we find Old Hai, I will send you out." Qin Feiyang smiled. "What? Are you afraid that I will inform Old Hai?" The Eighth Elder raised his eyebrows. "That's not what I mean," Qin Feiyang waved his hand. However, before he could finish, the Eighth Elder was furious and roared, "Then what do you mean? Even if he wanted to inform Old Hai, he could not contact him." Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows slightly. Was this person crazy? Why was he yelling at him? You were the one who let down the Devil Palace. Even if no one trusted you now, you only have yourself to blame. However, it felt like he was the biggest victim. The mistake was right in front of him. Not only did he not know how to reflect, he even acted like he was wronged. He really could not keep such a person by his side. Otherwise, he would sell him out sooner or later. Seeing a trace of displeasure on Qin Feiyang's face, the Eighth Elder finally realized that something was wrong. This was Qin Feiyang's Black Tortoise world. If he angered Qin Feiyang, he would not be able to escape even if he went to heaven or hell. Moreover, whether it was the Devil Palace or the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, they would all help Qin Feiyang. Acting presumptuously here was equivalent to courting death. "Sorry, I lost my composure." He quickly lowered his head and apologized to Qin Feiyang. "I'm fine." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "You can sit down and drink some tea. After we find Old Hai, I'll send you out." "All right." What else could the Eighth Elder do? He could only nod in agreement. If this continued, there was no need for Qin Feiyang to make a move. Given the Demon Royal Hall's character, the Demon Royal Hall would kill him. As a person, one must know how to be tactful and patient. After the Eighth Elder calmed down, the Demon Royal Hall's Hall Master took a sip of tea and glanced at the Alliance Chief and the others. Then, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Right now, we are not considered outsiders. There are some things that I will be frank with you. Please speak." Qin Feiyang said. The Demon Hall Master asked, "How do you plan to deal with the aftermath?" Aftermath? Qin Feiyang was stunned. What was there to deal with? Suddenly, he revealed a look of understanding and looked at the Demon Hall Master. He asked, "Are you talking about the Western continent?" "Yes." Although the Blood Hall has collapsed, the Blood Hall's Hall Master, the 9 deacons, Wang Changyuan, and all the secret guards have followed you. Moreover, all the managers and disciples of the Blood Hall are now under the control of the madman. So in a sense, the Blood Hall has not really disappeared. Logically speaking, you can take over the Blood Hall and rule the Western continent. However, I don't know if you have this intention or not. The Demon Hall's Hall Master looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. After hearing the Demon Hall's Hall Master's words, the others also looked at Qin Feiyang. Now, any decision of Qin Feiyang could directly affect the situation of the Sky Cloud realm. Qin Feiyang looked at the group of people, took a sip of tea, and shook his head. "Since we are all on the same side, then I will tell you the truth. I have never been interested in ruling. My goal is only Ice Dragon and the others." Hearing this, the Demon Hall Master and the Alliance Master heaved a sigh of relief, as if a heavy burden had been lifted from their shoulders. Ice Dragon and the others. Besides Ice Dragon, who else is there? The Vice Alliance Master was puzzled. There is an existence even stronger than Ice Dragon. I feel that even Ice Dragon is like a small follower in front of it. Qin Feiyang said. What? The group of people was shocked. They had all seen Ice Dragon on White Crane Island. Its strength could be called invincible, but they did not expect that there was an existence even stronger than Ice Dragon. And Ice Dragon was only playing the role of a small follower. This was too inconceivable. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and condensed the shadow of the small beast. He asked, "This is it. Have you seen it before?" The group of people looked at the small beast and shook their heads. They had no impression of it at all. It seems that even experts of your level are not qualified to come into contact with it. Qin Feiyang shook his head and sighed. How strong is it exactly? Elder Hu frowned. I can't be sure how strong it is, but I feel that it is omnipotent. There is one more thing that can prove its strength. When Qin Feiyang said this, his eyes narrowed slightly. What is it? Everyone was curious. It is the companion of the god of creation. And I heard from a few heaven-defying artifacts that it can swallow a great world in one gulp. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. It can't be. The group of people was shocked. The companion of the god of creation? And it can swallow a great world in one gulp. What kind of joke was this? There was such a powerful existence in this world. It was too unbelievable. Especially the god of creation. Did the god of creation really exist in this world? The deputy leader frowned and said, since it is so powerful, why did you provoke it? Isn't it better to live a normal life with your family and friends? Master, do you think I don't want to live a normal life? I didn't provoke it. It was them who repeatedly came to deal with me. Once upon a time, I had two divine weapons. One was the ancient castle, and the other was a dagger. I named it Pale Snow. However, that little beast, without any reason at all, directly snatched Sangshu from my hands. Furthermore, it sealed my other two fighting souls. Not to mention these two fighting souls, the ancient castle was sealed by it twice. Each time, I had to pay a great price to break the seal. Qin Feiyang sighed. You still have war souls? The deputy leader was surprised. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Elder Hu asked, if you can be sealed by that small beast, then your two war souls must be extraordinary. I can't say for sure. In the past, I felt that these two war souls were not powerful. But every time I encountered the ice dragon, these two war souls played a crucial role. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Crucial role? The group of people was suspicious. Anyway, the power they unleashed was not inferior to the ice dragon. Qin Feiyang said. Not inferior to the ice dragon? The group of people looked at each other. How powerful were these two war souls? They had always thought that the slaughter zone was Qin Feiyang's strongest move. Now, they knew that his real trump card was the two war souls that they had never seen before. They were ridiculously powerful. It was no wonder that they were sealed by the small beast. The deputy leader asked, so, you want to take back Changshui and break the seal of the war souls? That's right. They want to suppress me, but I won't let them have their way. Sooner or later, I will trample all of them under my feet. A cold light flashed in Qin Feiyang's eyes. The deputy leader looked at Qin Feiyang silently. He did not expect that this disciple had so many things on his shoulders. He smiled and said, go ahead and do it. Although I may not be able to help you, I will always support you. Thank you, Master. Qin Feiyang smiled gratefully. What about Lunatic? The master of the Hall of the Exalted looked at Qin Feiyang curiously and asked, does this little madman also have an unusual origin? The others were also curious. Lunatic's performance was not much worse than Qin Feiyang's. Senior brother. To be honest, I don't know his origin. Even he doesn't know his own background. However, I have discussed it with a friend. My friend is also very strong. He is the guardian of the lower realm and has a direct relationship with Ice Dragon and Small Beast. According to his investigation, Senior Brother Lunatic is most likely the reincarnation of a peerless powerhouse. Moreover, this powerhouse's strength is not much weaker than Ice Dragon. Moreover, Senior Brother Lunatic has a divine artifact called the Blood Demon Tower. According to my friend's investigation, this divine artifact is divided into several parts. If gathered together, it should be a sovereign-level divine artifact. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. The friend he was talking about was naturally the guardian of the third floor of the miracle, the Fire Python. Hearing this secret, the group of big shots was once again shocked. The reincarnation of a peerless powerhouse and a disintegrated sovereign-level divine artifact. These two little guys are indeed monsters. In fact, this is the reason why I dragged Senior Brother Lunatic to the Sky Cloud realm. Because I feel that Senior Brother Lunatic's background should be related to Ice Dragon. Qin Feiyang said. The Hall of Famers said in surprise, hearing what you said, this old man also picked up a big bargain. You can't say that. Even if Senior Brother Lunatic is the reincarnation of a great powerhouse, he still needs time to grow. I will have to ask you to take care of him. Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Hearing this, the group of giants showed a look of admiration for Qin Feiyang. If it was any other young man with such achievements and background, they would have already become arrogant. However, Qin Feiyang had always been humble and polite, without the slightest trace of arrogance. Such a young man was a real piece of jade. All right. The Demon Hall Master shook his head and looked at Elder Hua and the others. Let's not ask about the two of them. The more we hear, the more shocked we will be. Makes sense. Everyone nodded. Even though they were all big shots in the Sky Cloud realm, the things they heard from Qin Feiyang's mouth were completely beyond their scope of understanding. It was fine if they didn't know, but now that they knew, the pressure was even greater. Actually, you don't have to think too much. When the time comes, even if you keep a distance from me and Senior Brother Lunatic, we won't complain. After all, Ice Dragon and Small Beast are indeed very strong. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Your disciple is too understanding. The Alliance Master looked at the Vice Alliance Master with eyes full of envy. How could this old man be so lucky to pick up such an outstanding disciple? The Vice Alliance leader laughed heartily. He didn't even try to hide the smug look on his face. Chapter 33-47. Look at how proud you are. The Alliance Master shook his head in disdain. If you're jealous, just say it. Don't beat around the bush. The Vice Alliance Master chuckled. Jealous? Nope. Anyway, your disciple is also a member of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Since he's from the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, he's naturally my disciple. The Alliance Master said calmly. There's something wrong with your words. Go and ask around. Who doesn't know that Qin Feiyang and Madman Mo are disciples of my Demon Hall? The Demon Hall Master interjected. That's just an ordinary disciple. The Alliance Master smiled faintly. Ordinary disciple? Are you kidding? Do ordinary disciples have the right to participate in the exchange? The Demon Hall Master sneered. At most, they're core disciples. Can they be compared to personal disciples? Look at Qin Feiyang and Little Crazy. One is the personal disciple of our Vice Alliance Master, and the other is the personal disciple of our Hall of Famers. In fact, we're family. The Alliance Master said. You, the Demon Hall Master was furious. I'm telling the truth. The Alliance Master smiled proudly. After being suppressed by the Demon Hall for so many years, he finally got back some ground. Cough cough. Elder Hua coughed dryly and said, there's nothing to argue about. We're all on the same side now. What do you mean by all on the same side? Elder Hua, don't side with outsiders. Although we're temporarily cooperating, we still have a grudge with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. We have to settle it sooner or later. The Demon Hall Master said angrily. Yes, yes, yes. Elder Huan nodded and smiled apologetically. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he quickly changed the topic and asked, "Should we inform little madman that we're waiting here?" "No need. We'll contact them when Old Hai appears." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Then, with a wave of his hand, an image quickly appeared. Next, the group of people drank tea while paying attention to the situation outside. Outside, the Blood Hall Master and the others had completely given up. Even the horsetail whisk didn't dare to resist. What could they do? Perhaps, this was the best ending for them. Although they had lost their freedom, at least they were alive. The battle gradually calmed down. At the same time, in the north of the Blood Hall, there was a black figure hiding under an ancient tree at the peak of a giant mountain, looking in the direction of the Blood Hall. The fluctuations have subsided. Is the battle over? This person was Old Hai. At this moment, he was still in his soul form, and there was a trace of hesitation in his eyes. If the battle really ended, would the Blood Hall win, or would Qin Feiyang's side win? He pondered for a moment. He retracted his aura and disappeared into the mountain below like a ghost, heading for the Blood Palace. He was very careful and vigilant. However, he did not know that the moment he took this step, he was already destined to be a turtle in a jar. Time trickled by. About half an hour later, Old Hai finally reached the edge of the Nine-Dragon Mountain range. Along the way, he paid 120% attention to his surroundings. His ears were alert, and his eyes were alert. Whenever there was any movement, he would stop to check. This seems to be the aura of the Hall Masters and the others. He hid in a broken ravine and raised his head to look at the sky above the Blood Hall. There was a hint of surprise in his eyes, but it soon turned into joy. That's right. This is the aura of the Hall Masters and the others. And the aura of the horsetail whisk. However, he was still very vigilant. He slowly sneaked over. When he saw the Blood Hall Masters and the others with his own eyes, he confirmed it again and again. Because, the Blood Hall Masters and the others could be impersonated, but the horsetail whisk, a sovereign divine weapon, could not be impersonated. Hall Masters, with a shout, he flew toward the Blood Hall's Hall Master and the others. Old Hai. When the Blood Hall Masters and the others heard Old Hai's voice, they immediately turned around. When they saw Old Hai flying over, the Blood Hall Masters instinctively wanted to ask him to leave. However, when they thought of the slave seal, the horsetail whisk that had submitted to Qin Feiyang, and the possibility that Qin Feiyang was watching the situation outside in the Black Tortoise realm, all the thoughts in their hearts disappeared and turned into a silent sigh. Hall Masters, did we win? Old Hai flew to the front of the Blood Hall Masters and the others. He glanced at the 9 deacons and the group of dark guards and asked with a face full of joy. We, the Blood Hall Masters, pondered for a while and shook his head. Why are you sighing? Old Hai was suspicious. You shouldn't have come back. The Blood Hall Masters sighed. What do you mean? Old Hai was puzzled. I mean, you're walking into a trap by coming back. Suddenly, a faint voice sounded. This voice, Old Hai's eyes suddenly trembled. He turned his head and scanned the void around him. He saw a group of people appear out of thin air behind him. Qin Feiyang. Alliance Master. Demon Hall Masters. Old Hai was stunned. What was going on? The Blood Hall Masters sighed and said, there's nothing to be embarrassed about now. We lost. What? Old Hai's eyes trembled as he looked at the Blood Hall Masters in shock. He seemed to be asking why they were still alive since they had lost. We submitted to Qin Feiyang. One of the deacons sighed. Submitted to Qin Feiyang. Old Hai's eyes were filled with disbelief when he heard this. He roared, are you kidding me? You actually submitted to Qin Feiyang? Even the sovereign divine weapon submitted. What can we do? The Blood Hall Masters were also angry. Old High's body trembled. He pointed at the horsetail whisk and asked, "You said it also submitted?" "That's right. The Ice Dragon's sacred sword has fallen. It also submitted. Including the sovereign divine weapon of the Demon Hall, Qin Fei Yang and the others have 3 sovereign divine weapons. There's also the Slaughter Domain. If we don't submit, will we still have a way to live? I know, this is a very embarrassing thing, but we have no choice. Not only us, but even the disciples and managers of our Blood Hall have fallen into the hands of Qin Fei Yang and the others. We have completely lost." The Blood Hall Masters sighed sadly as if they had aged dozens of years in an instant. The 9 deacons and the group of secret guards also lowered their heads, their faces filled with helplessness and sadness. The Blood Hall that had stood for countless years had fallen. "It can't be, I don't believe it, this must be an illusion, tell me, you're joking with me." Old Hai swept his gaze over Qin Fei Yang and the others. He grabbed the clothes of the Blood Hall's Hall Master and roared hysterically. "Accept reality." The Blood Hall Masters patted Old Hai's shoulder and sighed. "No." Old Hai roared. He would never be able to accept this reality. While Old Hai and the Blood Hall Masters were talking, Qin Fei Yang took out the divine sound transmission stone and spoke to Madman. Madman was pleasantly surprised when he received the news. He immediately informed the others to gather at the Blood Hall. This was because he had established a contract with everyone before the operation. After putting away the divine sound transmission stone, Qin Fei Yang looked at Old Hai and said indifferently, "You have to accept it even if you don't want to. However, you're quite smart. You didn't go anywhere and hid near the Blood Hall. If senior brother Madman didn't capture your cousin Li Qinghai, we wouldn't have been able to find you so quickly." Li Qinghai. Killing intent surged in Old Hai's eyes as he roared, "Bastard, I'm going to kill you." Qin Fei Yang smiled faintly and said, "You'd better think about how to save your old life." The Blood Hall Masters were shocked and hurriedly looked at Qin Fei Yang and said, "Qin Fei Yang, do you think you can call the young master's name directly?" At this moment, along with a cold shout, a space-time tunnel appeared. Madman, White-Eyed Wolf, and Wang Changyuan ran out. The 3 of them and Snowflake were walking together. Wang Changyuan followed Madman and White-Eyed Wolf. His purpose was naturally to show off and get close to them so that he could unlock all his potential as soon as possible. At this moment it was Wang Changyuan who shouted coldly. Rushing to Qin Fei Yang's side, Wang Changyuan waited for the Blood Hall Masters and said, "Since you've already surrendered, then you should act like you're surrendering." A cold light flashed in the Blood Hall Master's eyes. Seeing this, Wang Changyuan's pupils shrank slightly. To be honest, facing the Blood Hall Masters, he was still quite afraid. However, when he thought of Qin Fei Yang as his backer, he became more confident and said, "What? Do you think you're a distinguished guest invited by the young master?" The Blood Hall Masters clenched his hands. Wang Changyuan used to be his confidant. Wang Changyuan could have his current cultivation and status because of him. But now, he was acting like a dog relying on its master's power and shouting at him. How could he have been so blind to cultivate this villain? However, Qin Fei Yang was on the side, so he didn't dare to flare up. Suppressing the anger in his heart, he looked at Qin Fei Yang and said, "Young master, although Old Hai is wrong, he's not weak. Keeping him alive will definitely be beneficial to you." Qin Fei Yang smiled faintly and glanced at the White-Eyed Wolf, saying, "It's not up to me whether to keep him alive or not. It's up to the White-Eyed Wolf." The Blood Hall Masters immediately looked at the White-Eyed Wolf. They didn't know if they didn't look, but they were shocked when they saw it. At this moment, the White-Eyed Wolf was staring at Old Hai with green eyes. Even his saliva was about to flow out, as if he was staring at a delicious cake. What's going on? Why is he showing such a terrifying look? Old Hai himself also felt a great sense of crisis from the White-Eyed Wolf's eyes. The madman chuckled and asked, "Brother Wolf, can I plunder without a physical body? As long as there's a wisp of soul left." The white-eyed wolf licked his lips. "Then what are you hesitating for?" The madman bared his teeth. The white-eyed wolf said hesitantly, "I'm thinking, should I fry him or braise him first?" "What the hell?" The madman was stunned. The corners of Qin Feiyang's mouth couldn't help but twitch. The other party had already fallen to this point, and he still wanted to scare others. How could he be so wicked? Hearing this, Old Hai's scalp went numb. Fry? Braise? Did he think he was dog meat? How infuriating. However, there was only fear in his heart. "Old Wang, hold him down." The white-eyed wolf grinned. Wang Changyuan immediately released the Law of Thunder and suppressed Old Hai. Old Hai wanted to struggle, but in his current state, could he break free? Obviously not. Moreover, Wang Changyuan was not the only one beside him. There were also the Demon Hall Masters and the others, and even the horsetail whisk, a ruler's divine weapon. How could he escape from so many powerhouses in his soul form? His fate was already sealed. Chapter 33-48. Roar. Accompanied by an earth-shattering roar, a golden beast shadow appeared. Elder Hua and the others knew what the white-eyed wolf was going to do as soon as they saw the golden beast shadow. After the battle on White Crane Island, they were also present when Frenzy told Qin Feiyang about the white-eyed wolf's third ability. Hence, they knew about the ability of the white-eyed wolf's third ability. However, the 10 great elders, the alliance leader, Shen Mang and his wife, the Blood Hall Master, and the others knew nothing about it. They looked at the white-eyed wolf with confusion in their eyes. However, the threat that the golden beast shadow gave them was extremely strong. Moreover, it was a threat from the power of law. "What are you doing?" Elder Hai roared as he stared at the white-eyed wolf with hatred. "Shut up!" Wang Changyuan shouted coldly. He only had one thought now, and that was to perform well. Even if the Heavenly Emperor came down, he would not be able to stop his enthusiasm. "Deprive!" The white-eyed wolf roared and golden light instantly drowned Elder Hai's divine soul. Elder Hai immediately realized that something was wrong because he could clearly feel that his own power of law was leaving him. After a few breaths, a crystal-like power of law swept out from Elder Hai's divine soul. Although Elder Hai did not have a physical body and could not activate the power of law, he could clearly feel that he had lost his power of law. "Bastard, give me back my power of law!" He anxiously roared at the white-eyed wolf. "Give it back to you." The white-eyed wolf looked at him with disdain as if he was looking at an idiot. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Send me to the Black Tortoise world." Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the white-eyed wolf immediately disappeared. A shadow guard was puzzled and asked, "What does Elder Hai mean by giving me back my power of law?" "I don't know either." The shadow guard next to him shook his head. During this time, many people arrived in the sky above the Blood Hall. These people were the 57 shadow guards and the Blood Hall's managers. Looking at this scene, the group of people was extremely surprised. "Now that we're not strangers anymore, I might as well tell you. The white-eyed wolf possesses an innate ability that can strip away the power of laws, and it can even fuse with itself." Qin Feiyang glanced at the Blood Hall Master and the others and said, "What? Deprive the law? Fuse with me? There's actually such an innate ability in this world?" Everyone present was flabbergasted. Wasn't this too perverted? Madman cackled. Brother Wolf's mastery of the law of death and the law of time is actually the law of death and the law of time that he plundered from the Grand Deacon and the Dark Guard commander. I see. I knew it was impossible for someone to have such heaven-defying talent to comprehend the ultimate profundities of two supreme laws at the initial stage of the ruler realm. But this innate divine ability is too terrifying. Everyone was shocked to the extreme, and their hearts were filled with panic. They were deeply afraid that they would be targeted by the white-eyed wolf. Don't worry. Other than ultimate laws, Brother Wolf doesn't care about anything else at all. Madman said indifferently. Hearing this, many people breathed a sigh of relief. However, the Alliance Master and the Blood Hall Master were somewhat unable to remain calm. Because one of them had mastered the law of time, while the other had mastered the law of time. Who knew if they would become the target of the white-eyed wolf? Are you afraid? Madman noticed the Blood Hall Master's expression and laughed mockingly. The Blood Hall Master's pupils constricted. The strongest law was what they relied on. Once they lost it, they would have nothing left. It was more painful than death. Don't be so nervous. Brother Wolf already has the law of time. Your law of time is useless to him. Madman waved his hand. Useless? In other words, he can no longer fuse with the same law. The Blood Hall Master was stunned and asked. Yes. Madman nodded. That's good. The Blood Hall Master heaved a long sigh of relief. The Alliance Master also secretly heaved a sigh of relief. But, Madman spoke again. But what? The Blood Hall Master hurriedly asked, his heart in his throat again. Although he can't fuse with the same law, he can still deprive it. Once it's deprived, you will be like old Dog Hai, forever losing the law of time. Madman sneered. The Blood Hall Master's heart skipped a beat. This was obviously a warning to him, don't try anything funny with me. Otherwise, when the white-eyed wolf deprives you of your law of time, you will live a life of suffering. I have lived for so many years, but this is the first time I have seen such a talent. It's really like the old saying, the world is big, and there are all kinds of strange things. The Alliance Master shook his head and sighed. Yes. This wolf cub is more of a threat than Qin Fei Yang and Little Madman. The Shen Mang couple on his shoulder also shook their heads and sighed. These guys were really one more perverted than the other. Wang Changyuan looked at Qin Fei Yang, pointed at Old Hai, and asked, Young Master, what about him? Qin Fei Yang glanced at Old Hai and said indifferently, he has no value anymore. Find out where the Blood Hall's resources are. Then kill him. Wang Changyuan nodded and sent his divine sense to Old Hai. Soon, he found a spatial divine object in Old Hai's divine soul. This spatial divine object was wrapped in Old Hai's divine soul. It was like a speck of dust and couldn't be seen with the naked eye. Wang Changyuan raised his arm and grabbed the spatial divine object. Then, the law of thunder fell with a loud bang. Old Hai's divine soul was annihilated on the spot with a miserable scream of despair. As soon as Old Hai died, the spatial divine object in Wang Changyuan's hand also appeared. It was a palm-sized stone pagoda. Wang Changyuan respectfully handed it to Qin Fei Yang. Qin Fei Yang took it in his hand and turned to look at the Demon Hall Master and Alliance Master. He said with a smile, since we have joined forces to destroy the Blood Hall, how about we split the Blood Hall's resources equally? If you want to give us the Blood Hall's sovereign divine weapon, we will definitely take it without hesitation. However, our Demon Hall doesn't lack these resources. You can keep them. The Demon Hall Master said indifferently. We don't need them either. Alliance Master waved his hand. Why not? These are the Blood Hall's resources. Our rogue cultivator alliance isn't as rich as the Demon Hall. For us, these resources are very useful. Shen Mang and his wife thought to themselves. We can't hurt our relationship because of these resources. Alliance Master transmitted his voice. But didn't he take the initiative to ask for an equal share? Shen Mang and his wife were puzzled. Since he proposed it, you want an equal share? What if he's just testing us? Besides, the Demon Hall doesn't want it. If we want it, won't it make us look inferior to them? Moreover, they are the Vice Alliance Master and the personal disciples of the Hall of Famers. Why do we have to be so calculative? Alliance Master transmitted his voice. All right. Shen Mang and his wife looked at each other and responded helplessly. All right then. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and didn't argue. He kept the stone pagoda and looked at the sky. What are you looking at? Frenzy was suspicious. I'm thinking, why hasn't the ice dragon appeared yet? According to its previous behavior, shouldn't it come out halfway to stop us? Qin Feiyang frowned, puzzled. It probably thinks that even if it comes, it's meaningless, so it's too lazy to make this trip. Frenzy sneered. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at the Blood Hall Master. Do you know where the ice dragon is? The Blood Hall Master shook his head. Then have you seen them? Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the phantoms of Long Zun, Prince Dragons, and Princess Dragons appeared. The Blood Hall Master sized them up and shook his head. I haven't seen them either. Strange. Frenzy frowned and looked at Qin Feiyang, asking, could it be that they aren't in the sky cloud realm? I don't know. Qin Feiyang shook his head and condensed a fiery red beast phantom. It was the fire dragon from Miracle. He asked, then have you seen it? Although the fire dragon looked similar, the fire dragon from Miracle had a characteristic that other fire dragons didn't have. That was the blood mark between its eyebrows. Not yet. The Blood Hall Master shook his head again. Young Master, I've seen it. Suddenly, Wang Changyuan spoke. Wang Changyuan stared at the blood mark between Elder Hua's eyebrows, his eyes full of surprise. Qin Feiyang and Frenzy immediately looked at him. I remember that more than 100 years ago, I entered the Yin Demon Land to comprehend the Supreme Profound. When I carefully entered the deepest part, I suddenly saw a fire dragon. Originally, I wanted to subdue it and make it my mount, but after I made my move, I found something extremely strange. Wang Changyuan was shocked. Something strange? The Demon Hall Master and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but look at Wang Changyuan in confusion. Wang Changyuan grasped the Supreme Profound of the Law of Thunder and was extremely strong. If he felt something strange, it definitely wasn't simple. Wang Changyuan said, although this fire dragon's cultivation isn't that high, it's extremely strong. Even I can't kill it, as if it has an immortal body. Immortal body? The group of giants frowned. Yes. Wang Changyuan nodded. But Qin Feiyang and Frenzy heard this and their spirits were lifted. That's right. The fire dragon with the blood mark was equivalent to having an immortal body. That must be it. Qin Feiyang asked, then is it still in the Yin Demon Land? I don't know about that. At that time, I couldn't kill it and it couldn't do anything to me. Then, it escaped. Later, I searched many places but couldn't find it. Wang Changyuan shook his head. That means it might not be in the Yin Demon Land now. Frenzy raised his eyebrows. It might be, but it might not be. Wang Changyuan said. Qin Feiyang took a deep breath. He looked at the madman and said, it doesn't matter if it's still in the Yin Devil Land or not. We have to make a trip there. After all, this is the only clue. Frenzy nodded. The vice leader asked, is this fire dragon your friend? No. It's our enemy, a life and death enemy. And it's backed by Ice Dragon and Small Beast. Qin Feiyang said solemnly. What? The group of giants' expressions changed. It was actually a subordinate of Ice Dragon and Small Beast. Wait. Frenzy suddenly looked at Wang Changyuan and asked, you just said that you went to the Yin Demon Land to comprehend the Supreme Profound. What's the situation? Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. Wang Changyuan did seem to have said this before. Didn't he say that the Yin Demon Land was one of the 4 forbidden areas of the Sky Cloud Realm and was extremely dangerous? Why did he go there to comprehend the Supreme Profound? Chapter 33-49. You don't know. Wang Changyuan looked at the two suspiciously. Qin Feiyang and Madman were stunned and asked, "What should we know?" Wang Changyuan was also stunned and turned to look at the vice leader and the Hall of Famers. The vice leader said, "Their talent is good, so there is no need for them to risk their lives in the forbidden areas, so we didn't tell them the specific situation of the forbidden areas." "I see." Wang Changyuan nodded. "What is the specific situation?" Qin Feiyang and Madman were even more confused. "It's like this. Although the 4 forbidden areas of the Sky Cloud realm are very dangerous, they also contain great fortunes. For example, divine weapons, divine arts, pills, power of laws, and profound mysteries. In short, there are certain opportunities in the 4 forbidden areas that can allow you to comprehend the power of laws and even the creation of supreme profound mysteries. So in our Sky Cloud realm, even if many perfect rulers know that the 4 forbidden areas are very dangerous, they still want to try their luck. However, these things are also secrets in the Sky Cloud realm. Before reaching the perfect ruler realm, no one will tell them." The vice leader smiled slightly. "Creation of supreme profound mysteries." Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other. They didn't tell them such an important thing. If they had been told earlier, they would have already run to the 4 forbidden areas. "Your cultivation is too weak, and with your talent, there is no need for you to take risks, so we didn't tell you. But now it seems that it is impossible to stop you." The Hall of Famers shook his head and smiled bitterly. The two's attitude was already very firm. In order to find the fire dragon, they had to go to the Yin Demon land. Madman smiled cruelly. "Old man, it is good to know that you are doing this for us, but we are such people. We won't go to places that are not dangerous." The Hall of Famers smiled helplessly. "Did I get into trouble?" Wang Changyuan looked at the vice leader and the Hall of Famers, then looked at Qin Feiyang and Madman, and muttered. "You just found out?" The vice leader and the Hall of Famers glared at him. Why did he mention the fire dragon for no reason? No one would think he was mute if he didn't open his mouth. Wang Changyuan smiled embarrassedly. "I didn't get into trouble, don't worry. On the contrary, I am very satisfied with your performance today." Madman patted Wang Changyuan's shoulder and laughed. "Indeed. From the beginning until now, Wang Changyuan had been working very hard. Although it was somewhat deliberate, his efforts could not be denied. If he didn't recognize Li Qinghai, Madman wouldn't know where Old Zes est. If he hadn't suppressed the upper echelons of the Blood Hall and those secret guards, things wouldn't have gone so smoothly. In short, this time, Wang Changyuan's contribution was not small. As long as you are. This madman teat. Teat est, Madman raised his head and laughed. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "Old Qin, since it's settled, then let's kill our way to the Yin Devil land." "So fast? We just went through such a tough battle, let's rest first. Besides, the mess in the Western continent is still waiting for you to clean it up." The vice leader hurriedly said. In fact, he really didn't want Qin Feiyang and Madman to go to the Yin demons. "We don't know how to clean up this mess." Madman shook his head. "If you don't clean it up, who will?" The Hall of Famers frowned. Qin Feiyang and Madman looked at each other, then at the vice leader and the Hall of Famers at the same time. "Of course it's you guys." "Us?" The two of them were stunned. The alliance leader and the divine python couple were also suspicious. What did they mean by letting the vice leader and the Hall of Famers clean it up? "Actually, Old Qin and I have already discussed this in private before the battle. If we can successfully destroy the Blood Hall this time, the Western continent will be handed over to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance to rule." Madman said. "What? Hand it over to us?" The alliance leader and the divine python couple looked at each other. This was too sudden. They weren't mentally prepared at all. At the same time, The Demon Hall Master, Chu Yun, and the elders of the Demon Hall looked at each other and raised their eyebrows. The Western continent was a huge cake, and they were giving it all to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance just like that? What about the Demon Hall? They had put in so much effort but didn't get anything. Qin Feiyang noticed the strange behavior of the Demon Royal Hall's Hall Master and the others. He smiled and said, "Don't be anxious. Actually, we are not doing this for the sake of the Loose Cultivator Alliance. We are also doing this for the Demon Royal Halls." "Tell me about it." The Demon Hall Master said. "If I hand the Western continent to the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, then the Rogue Cultivator Alliance naturally can't continue to stay in the Eastern continent. In other words, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance will have to withdraw from the Eastern continent. After the Rogue Cultivator Alliance withdraws, won't your Demon Hall be able to dominate the Eastern continent? This way, you won't have to fight for resources and territory like before. It'll save you a lot of trouble and effort. Isn't that great?" Qin Feiyang said with a smile. Hearing this, the leaders of the Demon Hall looked at each other. It did seem to make sense. Once the Rogue Cultivator Alliance left, they wouldn't have to fight with the Rogue Cultivator Alliance anymore. It would indeed save them a lot of trouble. Of course. Compared to the entire continent that the Rogue Cultivator Alliance obtained, your Demon Hall didn't get much. Therefore, I've discussed with Senior Brother Feng Zi and will agree to a promise. No matter what you want us to do, as long as it doesn't violate morality and ethics, we'll agree to it. And this promise will be effective forever." Qin Feiyang said with a smile. A promise. The Demon Hall Master and the others looked at each other and couldn't help but ponder. "Hall Master, Xiao Yun, I think this is feasible." Elder Hua was the first to react. "What do you think?" The Demon Hall Master thought to himself. You've all seen the foundation of Qin Feiyang and Feng Zi. They have two sovereign divine weapons, Slaughter Domain, and now the Blood Hall Master and his subordinates. Let's not talk about the future. Just now, they're enough to dominate the Sky Cloud realm. Therefore, we can't just look at their individual cultivation base. If we just look at their individual cultivation base, then their promise is indeed worthless. However, if we look at the overall situation, then this promise of theirs has an extraordinary value. Especially in the future, when they fully mature, then their promise can directly affect the future of our Demon Hall. Therefore, in the long run, this deal is definitely worth it. Besides, do you really think it's a good thing to take over the Western continent? What if, I'm just saying what if. If the Ice Dragon comes to take revenge, then the Western continent will definitely suffer a calamity. Therefore, to avoid unnecessary trouble, we should just obediently guard the Eastern continent. Elder Huat sent a voice transmission, clearly analyzing the pros and cons, that make sense. The Demon Hall Master muttered. Chu Yun also agreed. Alright then, let's do that. The Demon Hall Master nodded in the end. He looked at Qin Feiyang and Feng Zi and said with a smile, then you have to remember well. Don't go back on your words when we come to find you. How is that possible? Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. He cupped his hands and said sincerely, thank you. Also, we have an additional promise. Whether it is now or in the future, we will be disciples of the Demon Hall. If the Demon Hall is in trouble, no matter how far it is, no matter where we are, we will definitely rush back as soon as possible. Okay. The Demon Hall Master nodded. This promise made her even more moved and gratified. As expected, she didn't misjudge him. He was a good kid. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at the Vice Alliance Master and the other two. He said with a smile, Master, Alliance Master, Hall Master, can you accept this disciple's suggestion? Of course. The Vice Alliance Master nodded and smiled without even thinking. Compared to competing with the demonic halls in the Eastern continent, fighting for control of a complete continent, this was many times better. It could be said that They had dreamed of encountering such a good thing. Now that such a good thing had fallen from the sky, only a fool would reject it. The Hall of Famers was also overjoyed. From this moment on, the Rogue Cultivator Alliance could be considered a superforce in the Sky Cloud realm. However, the Alliance Master frowned. "What's wrong with you? It's such a good thing, why do you look a little unhappy?" The Shenmang couple looked at the Alliance Master suspiciously. Qin Feiyang, Madman, the Vice Alliance Master, and the others also looked at the Alliance Master. "Do you really think this is a good thing?" The Alliance Master looked at the Shenmang couple and the Vice Alliance Master and smiled bitterly. "Isn't it?" The two men and two beasts were suspicious. First of all, the Ice Dragon is behind the Blood Hall. What if the Ice Dragon comes to find trouble with us? With the Ice Dragon's strength, our Rogue Cultivator Alliance has no chance to resist. However, it's different in the Eastern Continent. To put it bluntly, the Eastern Continent is always number 2. However, it's also good that we're number 2. If there's anything, they'll go straight to the Devil Palace. In other words, if we were in the Eastern Continent, even if the Ice Dragon comes to take revenge, the Demon Hall will take care of it first. The Alliance Master said. "You old thing, you're really sinister. You actually used our Demon Hall as a shield." Chu Yun said with a dark face. "Who asked you to be the big brothers of the Eastern Continent?" The Alliance leader smiled faintly and continued, "Secondly, you all know the difference between our Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the 4 great powers. The only thing we lack is a Dominator Divine weapon. So even if we take over the Western Continent, without a Dominator Divine weapon, it will be difficult for us to defend this land. This is because if the temples come to interfere, we will only be beaten up. That seems to make sense." The Vice Alliance Master and the Hall of Famers nodded. The Alliance Master smiled bitterly and said, "In the past, I dreamed of being the big brother, but now that the opportunity is in front of me, I feel that it's actually quite comfortable to be the second." When Qin Feiyang and Madman heard this, they couldn't help but smile bitterly. This Alliance Master really thought it through thoroughly. Needless to say, after hearing the Alliance Master's words, being the second was indeed more comfortable. "How about this?" Qin Feiyang suddenly had an idea. He looked at the Alliance Master and the Demon Hall Master and said with a smile, "Since the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Demon Hall have already cooperated, then let's continue this cooperation." Chapter 3350. Continue to cooperate. Both sides were stunned as they looked at Qin Feiyang. Yes, continue to cooperate. To be precise, it's an alliance between the Rogue Cultivators Alliance and the Demon Hall. Although the Rogue Cultivators Alliance doesn't have a sovereign divine weapon, and the Demon Hall will be at a disadvantage if they ally with the Rogue Cultivators Alliance, it will definitely be beneficial for the Demon Hall. As for the Rogue Cultivators Alliance, after forming an alliance with the Demon Hall will take care of them. Even if the Divine Hall and the Sacred Hall want to suppress the Rogue Cultivators Alliance, they will have to think twice. Qin Feiyang smiled. The Alliance Master nodded and said, "If that's the case, we can give it a try. But what if the Sacred Hall and the Divine Hall join forces? After all, the Demon Hall only has one sovereign divine weapon. Don't you still have me and Senior Brother Feng Zi? Senior Brother Feng Zi and I are the personal disciples of the Vice Alliance Master and the Hall of Famers. Before they make a move, they will have to think twice. As for the Ice Dragon's revenge, to be honest, based on our understanding of it, it shouldn't do such a childish thing because the Blood Hall is just a chess piece in its eyes. It doesn't matter if it's gone." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "That makes sense." The Alliance Master nodded and said with a smile, "Then it would be impolite for me to refuse your and little Feng Zi's kindness." "Ahem. We haven't expressed our stance yet. Shouldn't the alliance be a win-win situation?" Chu Yun said with a cold face. Qin Feiyang looked at Chu Yun and said with a smile, "Then what conditions do you have? Feel free to state them. I only have one condition. I won't force you too much. Let Mo Lu enter the Western continent." Chu Yun said. "What? Let Mo Lu enter the Western continent? Isn't that snatching the resources of the Western continent from us?" The Vice Alliance Master raised his eyebrows. Chu Yun said, "We only do business and don't interfere with anything in the Western continent." That sounds good, but who knows if it will happen in the future. Besides, isn't Mo Lu doing business to snatch resources? The Divine Python couple snorted coldly. As the Vice Hall Master of the Demon Palace, I have to keep my word. If I violate this rule, there is no need for you to chase me away. I will get the Demon Tower out of the Western continent myself. As for stealing resources, that's even more nonsense. We do business with integrity. Furthermore, in the past, when you were in the Eastern continent, you occupied all the cities and snatched many resources from our demon royal halls. Chu Yun sneered. In the past, when he was fighting for resources and territories in the Eastern continent, he felt that it was only natural. Now, he was ready to rule a continent, but he was not even willing to give the demonic tower a place. How could there be such a selfish person? Hearing this, the Shenmang couple and the Vice Alliance Master were speechless. The Hall of Famers was unperturbed. He was not interested in these matters at all. His duty was to train the disciples of the Hall of Famers so that these disciples could become the future pillars of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. The alliance leader pondered for a moment before looking at Chu Yun and nodding. "All right, I promise you. However, I also have a condition. The profits from the Demonic Tower's operations in the Western continent must be split with our Rogue Cultivator Alliance." "Why should I share it with you?" Chu Yun raised her eyebrows. "That's right. If there are benefits, we should share them together. Moreover, this is the only way we can believe and see with our own eyes that your demon royal halls will not interfere in the matters of the Western continent. If possible, let's form an alliance now. If not, we'll discuss it again." The alliance leader looked at Chu Yun and said. Chu Yun looked at Elder Hua and the Demon Royal Hall Master. "I don't care. Anything is fine." Elder Hua smiled faintly. Chu Yun immediately rolled her eyes and looked at the Demon Royal Hall Master. The Demon Royal Hall Master pondered for a moment before looking up at the alliance leader. He nodded and said, "As you wish." "Straightforward." The alliance leader smiled. "Then, how should we split the profits from the demonic tower in the Western continent with you?" Chu Yun frowned. "This matter is not urgent. When we have time in the future, we can sit down and discuss it slowly. We can't keep delaying Qin Feiyang and Lunatic because of this small matter. In short, I sincerely hope that our Rogue Cultivator Alliance and your Demon Royal Halls can continue to be so friendly." The alliance leader smiled faintly. "As long as your Rogue Cultivator Alliance doesn't stab us in the back, our Demon Royal Halls won't do anything treacherous." The Demon Royal Hall Master said indifferently. The alliance leader's expression froze. The Demon Royal Hall Master was obviously hinting that the Vice Alliance leader had bribed the Eighth Elder. In any case, he was implying that their Rogue Cultivator Alliance wasn't honest. However, they couldn't be blamed for this. This was because the Rogue Cultivator Alliance and the Demon Royal Halls were enemies in the past. It was still a good thing for the Rogue Cultivator Alliance that the Vice Alliance leader could bribe the Eighth Elder. After all, the weight of an elder was far from what ordinary people could compare to. Besides, this was a very common thing in the past. The Rogue Cultivator Alliance bribed the Demon Royal Halls, and the Demon Royal Halls bribed the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. This happened almost all the time. Therefore, there was really nothing to complain about. Since we've already discussed it, then I sincerely wish you a happy cooperation. Qin Feiyang looked at the people from both sides and smiled. He then looked at Lunatic and asked, "Senior brother, how many disciples does the Blood Hall have?" "At least 10 million. Lunatic pursed his lips. If this was in the lower realms, just these 10 million disciples were enough to sweep through the various continents. So many. Qin Feiyang was stunned. "What do you think?" Lunatic was helpless. Qin Feiyang was speechless. There are so many disciples, and there are many genius disciples among them. If they stay in the Black Tortoise world, we won't have so many resources for them. This isn't the main point. The main point is that we still have to put in effort to nurture them. Lunatic shook his head. Even though these 10 million people looked like a huge force, they were actually a huge problem. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment, then looked at Lunatic decisively and said, "Throw all of them to your master." "Ha!" The Hall of Famers was stunned. When Lunatic heard this, he immediately took out the 13 spatial divine items and threw them all to the Hall of Famers. The Hall of Famers was stunned. There were more than 10 million Blood Hall disciples, and there were many core disciples among them, as well as monstrous disciples who had comprehended the strongest law. They were all given to him just like that. One had to know. Once these people were nurtured, they would definitely be able to change an era. But these two brats were like holding a hot potato, throwing them as far as they could. They're all yours. As for how to tame them, you can decide for yourself. Lunatic chuckled. The Hall of Famers couldn't help but smile bitterly. Tame. Daring to treat these disciples of the Blood Hall as wild beasts. But in his heart, he was very excited. With so many disciples joining the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, it could be said that the quality of the younger generation of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance had instantly improved by leaps and bounds. The competition between the various forces was not entirely about the older generation. The most important thing was still the younger generation of disciples. It could be said that the more outstanding the younger generation of disciples was, the stronger the force would be in the future. Although the various big shots of the Loose Cultivator Alliance were about as strong as the big shots of the super factions like the Demon Royal Halls, there was still a huge difference between the people under them. For example, the 10 Great Elders. The Great Elder of the Demon Hall had mastered the Supreme Profound of the Strongest Law, and the other 9 Great Elders had also mastered the Supreme Profound of the Ordinary Law. But the Rogue Cultivator Alliance only had the 10 Great Elders. Even the Great Elder, the grandfather of the green-clothed woman, had only just entered the threshold of the Supreme Profound. In other words, so far, none of the 10 Great Elders of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance had truly mastered the Supreme Profound. As for the disciples below, from the last exchange, it could be judged that whether it was quality or quantity, the disciples of the Rogue Cultivator Alliance were far inferior to the core disciples of the Demon Hall. Therefore, the 10 million disciples of the Blood Hall joining the Rogue Cultivator Alliance was definitely a qualitative transformation. As for taming, these people were originally disciples of the Blood Hall. Now that they suddenly joined the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, there would definitely be some resistance. However, as a giant of the Sky Cloud realm, the Hall of Famers had a way to tame them. Don't be fooled by his image of a good old man. When he really flipped out, it would definitely make people tremble in fear. At the same time, the vice leader, Shen Mang and his wife were secretly delighted. Ruling the Western continent, forming an alliance with the Demon Hall, and taking over all the disciples of the Blood Hall. It could be said that the Rogue Cultivator Alliance benefited the most from the destruction of the Blood Hall. The Demon Hall felt as if they were working for them. Of course. To be honest, Qin Feiyang was the one who benefited the most. After all, he obtained a sovereign divine weapon, as well as the Blood Hall Master, the 9 Great Deacons, Wang Changyuan, a group of managers, and more than 5,000 secret guards. In other words, now, Qin Feiyang's subordinates were also full of experts. Then you guys go ahead. We also have to go to the Black Tortoise realm to deal with the aftermath. Qin Feiyang looked at the two sides and smiled. Okay. The vice leader nodded. Then, as if he thought of something, he hurriedly said, when you guys leave, don't say anything again. I won't. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. Then, he took Frenzy and the others, the Horsetail Whisk, and the Blood Hall Masters group, and instantly disappeared without a trace. Wait, 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 our sovereign divine weapon, the Demon Hall Master hurriedly shouted. Don't worry. When it's repaired, he will naturally return it to us. Elder Hu chuckled. I'm afraid only you would trust him so much. Chu Yun rolled her eyes. This is called not doubting the person you use, but not using the person you doubt. Back then, when I passed on the position of vice leader to you, wasn't it the same? Elder Hu laughed. Fine. Hurry up and take it back. I don't want to do it anymore. It's so annoying. Chu Yun said. Annoying? How long has it been? Take your time, little girl. Elder Hu shook his head and chuckled. He looked at the alliance leader and the others and said, then let's go back to the eastern continent to prepare for the migration. At the same time, we can talk about our alliance. Okay. The alliance leader nodded. With a wave of his hand, a space-time tunnel appeared. In terms of comprehension and attainment of the space-time law, if the alliance leader said he was second, no one in the sky cloud realm would dare to say they were first. Even Chu Yun and Elder Hai couldn't compare. What about him? Chu Yun pointed at the eighth elder, who was standing at the side. Everyone looked at the eighth elder, their eyes evading his gaze. The eighth elder's body and mind tensed up. He immediately looked at the group of people warily and said, previously in the Black Tortoise realm, you said you would let me go after capturing Elder Hai. Chapter 33:51. The group of big shots remained silent. Are you going back on your word? The eighth elder looked around as he retreated. He looked extremely flustered. I did intend to let you leave, but I saw resentment in your eyes when we were in the Black Tortoise realm. With your personality, I believe that you will definitely think of ways to take revenge on us in the future. The Demon Hall Master spoke. The eighth elder's heart skipped a beat. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, I won't. I swear. Swear. Do you think this is a blood oath? The Demon Hall Master's eyes turned cold. 9 golden lotuses appeared, and a destructive aura immediately enveloped the eighth elder. No. The eighth elder exclaimed and turned to flee in panic. Although he had also grasped a supreme law, it could not be compared to the supreme law of karma. One was a supreme law, while the other was an ordinary law. At the same level, at the same law, a supreme law could crush an ordinary law. Therefore, he could only flee. He did not even have the courage to fight. The outcome of a person who had lost his courage was obvious. There was no suspense. Accompanied by a miserable cry, the eighth elder's blood splattered across the sky, and his soul was destroyed. Seeing this scene, no one sympathized with him. Even the Vice Alliance Master had a cold expression. He could not be blamed for being heartless. After all, he and the eighth elder had a mutually beneficial relationship. Furthermore, who asked the eighth elder to show resentment? This was because he did not know how to endure. You can hate. But at the very least, he shouldn't reveal it in front of everyone. Isn't that just courting death? Great figures like the Devil Hall's Hall Master were all vicious and merciless. If there was a threat, they would definitely kill it in the cradle. Then, the group did not stay any longer. They turned and entered the space-time tunnel. As the group left, the place quieted down. However, what Qin Feiyang and the others did not know was that there were 2 ferocious beasts standing in the sky. They were not big, and they did not emit any aura. It was as if they had merged with heaven and earth. If one did not see them with one's own eyes, one would not notice them even if they were standing behind one. One of them was an ice dragon that was more than a meter long. Opposite the ice dragon was a snow-white rabbit with a jar of divine wine in its claws. It's quite exciting. The little rabbit retracted her gaze and took a sip of the Xuanwu divine brew. She looked at the ice dragon and smiled. Ice dragon was expressionless. Angry? Blame Uncle Rabbit for meddling in other people's business? It can't be helped. What Uncle Rabbit can't stand the most is the stinky behavior of the strong bullying the weak. The little rabbit chuckled. A cold light flashed in Ice Dragon's eyes, and he said in a deep voice, "Do you know the consequences of going against me?" "I know. Uncle Rabbit isn't your match either. But if you really want to cause trouble, Uncle Rabbit isn't afraid of you. If worse comes to worst, we can just find the God of creation and let him be the judge." Little Rabbit said. Ice Dragon raised his eyebrows. "I say, in any case, you're a famous big shot. Why are you making things difficult for a junior?" The little rabbit was suspicious. "You don't understand. You don't have the right to know." After saying that, Ice Dragon turned around and instantly disappeared into the horizon. "Strange," the little rabbit muttered. After thinking for a long time, she still couldn't figure it out. She shook her head and said, "Who cares? No matter what, it won't implicate Uncle Rabbit." After saying that, she turned around and took a step forward, disappearing without a trace. Black Tortoise World. At this time, the Blood Hall Master, the 9 deacons, Fu Whisk, a group of managers, and the Dark Guards were standing above the herb field. Looking at everything below, their eyes were filled with shock. So many herbs, so many spirit veins and crystal veins, this is Qin Feiyang's foundation. It was their first time coming to the Black Tortoise World, and they were deeply shocked by this scene. Below, Qin Feiyang and Madman stood together and chatted. Wang Changyuan, Xingde, and the 57 Dark Guards were standing behind them respectfully. To be honest, the biggest surprise this time is that Ice Dragon, that old bastard, actually didn't come to cause trouble. Madman was puzzled. This isn't Ice Dragon's character. It's indeed a little surprising. Originally, I was already mentally prepared to face it. But since it didn't come, it saved us a lot of trouble. Otherwise, it would have been impossible to destroy the Ice Dragon's sacred sword, subdue Fu Whisk, and the Blood Hall Master. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. "N." Madman nodded and raised his head to look at the Blood Hall Master and the others, saying, "Then what should we do with them now?" Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and looked at Snowflake beside him. He also took out the dragon subduing halberd and said with a smile, "There's nothing else. You guys can go to the land of source." "Okay." The 2 divine artifacts responded and soared into the sky, disappearing without a trace. Following closely, Qin Feiyang took a step forward and landed in front of the Blood Hall Master. The Blood Hall Master quickly retracted his gaze and looked at Qin Feiyang respectfully. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said with a smile, "I really didn't expect that there would be a day when you would become my subordinate. Do you feel particularly aggrieved that a dignified overlord of the Sky Cloud realm would submit to me, a mere dominator?" The Blood Hall Master was silent, but his tightly clenched fists were enough to explain everything. "Let me tell you, you won't be at a disadvantage if you follow me. You even have a great chance of surpassing people like the Demon Hall Master and the Alliance Master." Qin Feiyang said. "N." The Blood Hall Master looked at Qin Feiyang in surprise. The 9 deacons, the group of managers, and the more than 5,000 secret guards were also shocked. The Blood Hall Master, the Demon Hall Master, and the Alliance Master had always been evenly matched in strength. There had never been a situation where one of them surpassed the other. But now, Qin Feiyang actually made such a promise. Could it be that Wang Changyuan and the 57 secret guards joined Qin Feiyang because they valued something? "Old Qin, control them first." Madman pointed at the managers and the 30 secret guards. Qin Feiyang was slightly taken aback and said suspiciously, "Didn't you say that they have already made a blood oath?" "That's right. But we can have a double insurance." Madman bared his teeth. "All right." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Both of his hands formed seals, and one slave seal after another flew out towards the top of those people's heads. With the blood oath, he was not afraid of these people resisting. Because before they could resist, the heavenly lightning had already fallen and killed them. He easily took control of those people. Then, Qin Feiyang looked at the Blood Hall Master and said with a smile, "We have known each other for a long time, but I still don't know your name." "Pei Tianhong." The Blood Hall Master said. "Pei Tianhong," Qin Feiyang murmured and said with a smile, "From now on, you will be my personal guard." "Personal guard?" Pei Tianhong was taken aback. He was a giant in the Sky Cloud realm after all. Letting him be a personal guard. If this was seen by others, wouldn't they laugh to death? Qin Feiyang said indifferently, "Being my personal guard means that I value you very much, so you shouldn't show such an expression. You should feel happy, honored, and grateful." Although Pei Tianhong was being controlled and respectful on the surface, he was actually very unconvinced, so Qin Feiyang wanted to grind down his arrogance. Sure enough. Hearing these words, Pei Tianhong's loosened hands clenched again. His eyes were filled with anger, but he didn't dare to flare up. Qin Feiyang didn't pay any more attention to him. He stood aside and looked at the 9 deacons. Seeing this, the 9 deacons immediately prepared to introduce themselves. However, Qin Feiyang waved his hand and said, "I don't need to know your names." "Ah." The 9 deacons looked at each other. He didn't even want to know their names. How much did he look down on them? Qin Feiyang said with a smile, "Don't misunderstand, I just find it troublesome, so I'm too lazy to remember." "You find it troublesome to remember names?" The 9 of them were speechless. How lazy was this person? From now on, the Dark Guard will have 10 commanders. Wang Changyuan will be the first commander. You 9 deacons will be the second commander, third commander, and even the 10th commander. Qin Feiyang said. "You're letting me be the first commander?" Wang Changyuan, who was standing behind Qin Feiyang, was stunned when he heard this order. This was something he never expected. Because the 9 deacons had a higher status in the Blood Hall than him, logically speaking, the current second deacon should be the first commander. In short, it would never be his turn. Therefore, he felt like he was dreaming. "Commander Wang, what are you waiting for? Quickly thank him." A dark guard beside him saw Wang Changyuan in a daze and hurriedly pushed him. Wang Changyuan quivered and came back to his senses. He turned to look at the dark guard. The dark guard smiled flatteringly and said to himself, "Commander, please take care of me in the future." The other 56 dark guards also looked at Wang Changyuan with fawning eyes. "Don't worry, you're the first to follow the young master. I definitely won't forget you." Wang Changyuan smiled secretly and then hurriedly ran to Qin Feiyang. He knelt down on one knee and shouted, "Thank you for your trust, young master. I'll lead the Dark Guard well in the future and overcome all obstacles for you." "Stop." Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hand to stop Wang Changyuan and said with a dark face, "You really have to change your flattery. It's useful to others, but I don't buy it. I only look at your actions and performance." Wang Changyuan's face stiffened and nodded, "Yes, I'll definitely change." "Get up." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Wang Changyuan stood up, straightened his back, looked at the 9 deacons and shouted, "Hurry up and kneel down to thank him." Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. It was really easy to change mountains and rivers, but hard to change one's nature. At the same time, looking at Wang Changyuan's arrogant attitude, the 9 deacons were also very angry, but they didn't dare to flare up. After all, Wang Changyuan was now Qin Feiyang's favorite person. "Thank you, young master, for your appreciation." The 9 deacons knelt in the void and bowed their heads. "Get up. I don't have so many rules here. As long as you do your part and do what I tell you to do, it's fine." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "We'll keep that in mind." The 9 deacons bowed and replied. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and the 9 deacons retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang looked at the upper, middle, and low-level managers. "We'll also serve the young master loyally." Before Qin Feiyang spoke, the group of people knelt down. Chapter 3352. Being kowtowed to by a group of perfection sovereigns, especially the Blood Hall's managers, if it was anyone else, they would definitely enjoy it. However, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but frown. He had never liked this, unless he met someone he hated. However, these people in front of him were all serving their own masters, so there wasn't any deep hatred. Even before the battle, he didn't know these people. Therefore, to be honest, he looked down on these people who would kneel at the slightest provocation. However, he couldn't blame them. After all, this was the law of survival in this world. In front of the strong, you had to bow and bend your knees. Living in such an illusion, this mentality was deeply ingrained and couldn't be changed in a short time. Get up. By the way, don't kneel at the slightest provocation. A person must have dignity and pride. Kneeling to parents and close relatives is fine, but other things, even the heavens can't make me kneel. Therefore, I hope that you can do the same. Qin Feiyang said earnestly. The group of managers looked at each other with a bitter smile in their eyes. Who didn't understand this logic? In this world, who wanted to kneel to others? However, if you want to survive in this world, you have to know how to lower your head. However, Qin Feiyang's words made them feel quite comfortable, as if they had found their long-lost self-esteem. The group of people got up one after another, but they still lowered their heads with a respectful expression. From now on, you are no longer managers. All of you will join the Dark Guards and listen to the 10 commanders unconditionally. If anyone dares to cause trouble, don't blame me for being impolite. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with a cold light. Yes. The group of managers nodded in response. Of course, Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Changyuan and the 9 deacons, and said, as the 10 commanders of the Dark Guards, you can't use your power to bully them. If such a thing happens, then I won't be merciful either. Yes. Wang Changyuan and the others also quickly lowered their heads in response. Qin Feiyang said, Wang Changyuan, tell them the 3 iron rules. Yes. Wang Changyuan nodded, swept his gaze across everyone, and shouted, first, no killing the innocent. Secondly, you are not allowed to bully others. Third, you are not allowed to betray your comrades. Anyone who disobeys will be killed without mercy. We will remember. Everyone bowed in response. Actually, after saying so much, I just want to express one thing. Let go of the superiority of status and strength, support each other like a family, and get along harmoniously. Because this is the only way we can go further. Qin Feiyang smiled. The moment he said this, all the shadow guards fell silent. They, who were used to fighting and scheming against each other, were not used to hearing Qin Feiyang's words. There's no rush. Let's take it slow. Dan Wangkai. Qin Feiyang smiled and shouted. Whoosh! Accompanied by a piercing sound, Dan Wangkai landed in front of Qin Feiyang like lightning. Qin Feiyang pointed at Wang Changyuan and the 57 secret guards and said with a smile, help them open all the doors of potential. Okay. Dan Wangkai nodded. Open all the doors of potential. Wang Changyuan and the 57 secret guards were stunned, then they were overjoyed. This moment had finally arrived. On the other hand, Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons were shocked. Open all the doors of potential. What did this mean? Fu Whisk, stay here and assist Dan Wangkai. Qin Feiyang looked at Fu Whisk and said. After all, Wang Changyuan and the others were at the perfection sovereign realm and needed the help of the sovereign divine weapon. Then, he looked at Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons and said indifferently, "Follow me." "Young master, what about them?" Dan Wangkai pointed at the 5,000 secret guards. "Just let them watch." Qin Feiyang said indifferently. Suddenly, he thought of something and looked at Wang Changyuan. "Right, count how many secret guards there are in total." "Okay." Wang Changyuan nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and Feng Zi, Xingde, Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons disappeared. Soul Sealing Valley. It had become a forbidden area in the Black Tortoise world. Not to mention humans, even beasts didn't dare to step in. The reason was because it was too smelly. Anyone who passed by the valley couldn't help but vomit. Schwa. When Qin Feiyang brought Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons here, the 10 of them couldn't help but turn pale. In the past, they only saw the soul-sealing valley through the sound transmission god stone. Other than feeling disgusted, they didn't feel anything. However, when they came here personally and saw the scene below, their scalps turned numb. Was this a place for humans? Looking at Pei Wanli and the others who were suppressed by Xingde in the valley, the 10 of them felt even more heartache. One day outside was 3,000 years here. They had already suffered here for over 3,000 years. This feeling was enough to make a person despair. "Young master, we have already submitted to you. Can you let them go now?" Pei Tianhong looked at Qin Feiyang with pleading eyes. "I brought you here to let them go." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and looked at Xingde. Xingde waved his hand and the barrier above immediately collapsed. Noticing that the barrier had collapsed, Pei Wanli and the others were stunned. They looked up suspiciously. When they saw Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons, their empty eyes immediately lit up. "Father, grandfather, save us!" Everyone immediately shouted for help. Xingde shouted, "The barrier is gone. Can't you come up yourself?" Hearing this, the group was stunned for a moment. Then, they quickly released their divine sense and flew into the sky. "Just stand far away. Don't come over." Seeing that the group was about to rush over, Xingde quickly waved his hand to stop them and covered his nose. Not to mention Xingde, even Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons' faces were filled with disdain. "Grandfather, it's all his fault. Hurry up and kill him to wash away our shame." Pei Wanli screamed hysterically. The others were also filled with hatred. "Shut up." Hearing this, Pei Tianhong and the other deacons' faces changed and they shouted in unison. The group was stunned. Why was he scolding them? After suffering such humiliation, shouldn't he be avenging them? Wait a minute. Why did they look like they were afraid of Qin Feiyang? What was going on? Pei Tianhong's face darkened and he said, "If you dare to say another word, young master won't have to do anything. I'll kill you first." "Young master." The 2 words were like a bolt from the blue to Pei Wanli and the others. Especially Pei Wanli, Pei Dason, and Pei Hongyu. The old man actually called Qin Feiyang young master. Even a fool would know that this form of address was an honorific used by a servant to their master. What exactly happened outside during this period of time? Why did the old man call him young master? Could it be? A terrifying thought appeared in their minds at the same time. The old man submitted to Qin Feiyang. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Qin Feiyang was very powerful, but the strength of the Blood Hall was not weak either. Moreover, the Blood Hall had 2 sovereign divine weapons. There must be another reason. Your inner thoughts at this moment must be very interesting. The mad scientist glanced at the group and laughed. However, no one cared about the mad scientist. They were all looking at Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons. The doubt in their eyes was very obvious. What was going on? Pei Tianhong was silent for a long time and sighed. Yes, as you think, we have submitted to Qin Feiyang. The blood hall is also gone. What? The group's eyes trembled. Not only did they submit, but the blood hall was also gone. Grandpa, you must be lying to me. How could this happen? Don't we have a sovereign divine weapon? Pei Wanli roared. The ice dragon's sacred sword has also fallen. Our sovereign divine weapon has also submitted to Qin Feiyang. The blood hall master lowered his head. Facing his relatives, he felt ashamed. No. I don't believe it. Why are you lying to me? Is it fun to tease me? Pei Wanli shook his head hysterically. He was the grandson of the blood hall master. Now that the blood hall was gone and his grandpa had submitted, it meant that he had lost everything. He couldn't accept that he had become an ordinary person. He couldn't accept that he would have to live under Qin Feiyang's whims in the future. He didn't know that he was thinking too much. Qin Feiyang had no intention of letting him go. An ordinary person. Living under his whims. He really couldn't understand his own situation. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed with killing intent. He shouted, "Xingde, kill Pei Wanli, Old Hai, the chief deacon, and the Dark Guard commander's family." Yes. Xingde nodded and the power of law immediately rolled out. What? Not only Pei Wanli and the others, but even Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons were shocked. "Young master, please show mercy." When they came back to their senses, Pei Tianhong stood in front of Xingde and blocked him. He looked at Qin Feiyang and cried out. "Yes, young master. Didn't you just say to let them go?" "The 9 deacons." "No, they should be called the 9 commanders now." The 9 commanders were also looking at Qin Feiyang anxiously. "I said to let them go, but I didn't say to let them all go. Those who deserve to die must die." Qin Feiyang said indifferently. "We have no reason to do anything with you. Even if there is hatred, it's because of our parents. Why do we deserve to die?" Old Hai's son roared. "Because in your eyes, I can see the killing intent and hatred. Those who pose a threat must not be allowed to live. Moreover, Old Hai, the Dark Guard commander, and the chief deacon have all died in my hands. So all the more you can't be allowed to live. Don't blame me. If it was me and senior brother Feng Zi today, Old Hai and the rest would definitely kill all our friends and even wash the entire Black Tortoise world with blood. So compared to them, we are already considered merciful. If you want to blame someone, blame them. Why did you come to provoke us for no reason?" Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and looked at Pei Tianhong. Pei Tianhong's face was filled with anger. Xingde raised his eyebrows and shouted, "Pei Tianhong, you have to understand your current situation." Pei Tianhong's gaze trembled. He turned his head to look at Pei Wanli, then looked at Qin Feiyang, and suddenly roared, "All right, since we're going to kill them, then I'll personally end them." Boom! As his voice fell, the power of law surged, emitting a monstrous aura. "Father, what are you doing? He's your grandson." Pei Dason and his wife roared. "It's because he's my grandson that I have to do it personally to prevent Xingde from torturing him. Rather than living a life worse than death, it's better to be quick." The Blood Hall master roared hoarsely and the power of law surged out. Pei Wanli and the rest screamed as their blood splattered across the sky. Looking at this scene, Pei Dason and the rest fell silent. Chapter 33-53. Because they all saw Pei Tianhong's pain. He wasn't willing to kill them. But he had no choice. If he didn't kill them and angered Qin Feiyang, everyone would die. So, rather than letting everyone die with him, he might as well kill Pei Wanli and the others to protect the others. Indeed. They couldn't blame anyone but themselves for being useless and falling into Qin Feiyang's hands. "Old thing, I admire you. Frenzy looked at Pei Tianhong and gave him a thumbs up. As expected of the giant that ruled the Western continent for countless years, ruthless and decisive. But Frenzy's praise was like mockery in Pei Tianhong's eyes. He snorted and looked at Qin Feiyang. Young master, you can let the others go. I will keep my word. But, I don't feel at ease letting them stay in the Black Tortoise world. If I let them out, I will be even more worried. Qin Feiyang frowned and was in a dilemma. Pei Tianhong looked deeply at Qin Feiyang and shouted at Pei Dason and the others, kneel down and accept your control. The group didn't resist. Because it was meaningless. Resisting would only speed up their deaths. Qin Feiyang formed the enslavement seal and quickly controlled everyone. He then waved his hand and brought a group of people to descend in the sky above the central region. He said indifferently, "This is where you will be staying from now on." The group scanned the area below. Why were there only beasts and not a single person? The Black Tortoise world has a total of 6 places: East Region, West Region, South Region, North Region, Central State, and Devil's Land. This place is Central State. People used to live here, but they all left the Black Tortoise world, so it has been empty. As time passed, it became the base of the beasts. And the humans of the Black Tortoise world live in the East Region, South Region, and North Region. As for the West Region, that is where I store my blood. I don't need to explain Devil's Land, that is my base. Listen well, I will only say it once. Allowing you to stay in the Black Tortoise world is already a great mercy on my part. Therefore, it is best that you do not disturb the order of the Black Tortoise world. If there's nothing important, don't go anywhere else. Just stay in the central province. The living beings of the Black Tortoise world, regardless of whether they are humans or ferocious beasts, are my bottom line. Even though their cultivation is weaker than yours, if you dare to harm them, not only will you die, but you, Pei Tianhong, and you, Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and the 9 commanders and said coldly, you will die too, so you better restrain them. We will. The 10 people hurriedly nodded. In addition, all the secret guards will live here from now on. Don't cause any trouble for me. As for the Devil's Land, without my permission, don't ever set foot in it. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Dason and the others and said. Yes. The group of people also hurriedly nodded in response. All right, settle down by yourself. After Qin Feiyang finished speaking, he waved his hand and left with Madman, Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the 9 commanders. After Qin Feiyang and the others left, Pei Dason and the others looked at the mountains below and fell silent. 3 days ago, they were still high and mighty existences that countless people in the western province looked up to. 3 days later, they became caged birds. Not only were their lives in Qin Feiyang's hands, they didn't even have the freedom to leave the central province. Such a huge change made them unable to adapt in a short period of time. Sigh. We've already come this far. Since we're already here, let's just take it as it comes. Suddenly, a middle-aged man sighed. What else can we do? Even Lord Father has surrendered, and even the sovereign divine weapon is following Qin Feiyang. What can we do? To be able to have a place to stay and enjoy our old age is already a great fortune for us. Another old man sighed and comforted Pei Dason, don't be sad. You and your wife are still young. Have a few more children in the future. Pei Dason forced a smile and said, don't worry about me. Find a place to wash up. If you didn't mention it, I wouldn't have noticed. 3,000 years, I've already gotten used to the smell. The old man smiled bitterly. The Devil's Land. When Qin Feiyang brought Madman and the other 3 to the sky above the herb field, Pei Tianhong and the 9 commanders immediately saw a strange scene. At this moment, everyone was surrounding Dan Wangkai, the Whisk, Wang Changyuan, and the 57 dark guards. Their faces were filled with disbelief and desire at the same time. What's going on? Pei Tianhong and the others looked at each other. When they got closer, they saw Wang Changyuan and the 57 dark guards in the air. The whisk floated in the air and released a wisp of divine power that enveloped them. Dan Wangkai stood at the side and watched quietly. Boom! A few breaths passed. A dull explosion took place inside the bodies of Wang Changyuan and the others. Brilliant rays burst out from the clothes on their chests. Another door of potential has been successfully opened. The thousands of people surrounding them were filled with shock and envy. It can really open the door of potential? Pei Tianhong and the others looked at each other. How did they do it? Take a break and continue. Dan Wangkai took out some door of potential pills and gave them to Wang Changyuan and the others. Pills? Pei Tianhong and the others stared intently at the pills. It turned out that they were using pills to help open the door of potential. However, was there such a pill in the world? Wait. Could it be the legendary first volume of the pill scripture? Immediately, the 10 of them turned their heads to look at Qin Feiyang, their eyes filled with surprise. Qin Feiyang didn't explain and said with a faint smile, "Follow me." With that, he walked towards the tea garden. Frenzy looked at the 5,000 secret guards and a hint of ridicule flashed in his eyes. He also turned and left, but he didn't go to the tea garden and ran back to his home. Xingde followed Qin Feiyang the whole time. Pei Tianhong and the others looked at each other, then looked at Wang Changyuan and the others and quickly chased after Qin Feiyang. Tea garden. The tea trees swayed in the wind. Those pieces of tea leaves were like dark green jade, flickering with multicolored light, and one could smell the fragrance of tea from afar. Qin Feiyang entered the tea garden and casually sat on a stone bench. He smiled and said, "Have a seat." Pei Tianhong and the others were very reserved. They looked at the stone bench and didn't dare to sit. As a big shot of the Western continent, it was rare to see such an expression. "Sit. Do you want me to invite you one by one?" Qin Feiyang was speechless. The 10 of them looked at each other and sat down around the tea table. Qin Feiyang looked at Xingde at the side and said with a smile, "You sit too." "Yes." Xingde nodded and sat beside Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang made tea and smiled, "Now that the blood halls matter is settled, when do you plan to return to Master's side?" To be honest, although Xingde wasn't as strong as Pei Tianhong and the others, he liked Xingda's personality and way of doing things. If possible, he wanted to stay by Xingda's side. But he knew that Xingde was his master's confidant. He couldn't take away someone he loved. This, Xingde pondered for a while, then looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "I haven't received Sir's message. If Sir wants me to go back, I'll go back. You're good at everything except for this. You're so stubborn." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Xingde scratched his head and smiled. "I've already opened the door of potential for you. The blood halls matter is also over. When I go to the Een Demon land, you can return to Master's side. Master is already so old. If he were an ordinary person, he would have already started to enjoy his old age. But he's still working hard. My heart aches when I see him. Especially when the Rogue Cultivator Alliance moves to the Western continent in the future. There will be more work to be done. When that time comes, you 3 brothers must help Master share more of the burden." Qin Feiyang poured a cup of tea and handed it to Xingde. Xingde quickly took it and smiled, "It's Master's fortune to have you as his disciple. Don't worry, we'll do our best to help Master. I don't dare to believe others, but I have no doubts about you." Qin Feiyang smiled and poured another 10 cups of tea. He placed them on the table and looked at Pei Tianhong and the others. He smiled and said, "Try it." The 10 of them picked up the teacups, smelled it, and tasted it. Their eyes lit up. This tea was definitely one of the best teas. I didn't expect young Master to be an expert in the way of tea. The second commander smiled. He was the second deacon in the past. I'm not an expert in the way of tea. I just try it when I'm free. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Who would believe that? If it was just for fun, why would he build such a huge tea garden? Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and smiled. Pei Tianhong, I'll call you Old Pei from now on. As long as you're happy. Pei Tianhong was stunned. He lowered his head and sipped his tea. Qin Feiyang smiled and asked, back then, when the ice dragon found you and asked you to deal with us, what promise did it make to you? It was the ice dragon's sacred sword and the dragon god's sword. It promised to give these two Dominator divine weapons to us after it's done. You know how important the Dominator divine weapons are to us. I also thought that it would be easy to deal with a few people from the lower worlds, so I agreed to it. But now that I think about it, I was really stupid. If it was willing to sacrifice two Dominator divine weapons, how could you be ordinary people? Pei Tianhong was vexed. When he saw how terrifying Qin Feiyang and the others were, it was too late to regret. Because he was already on the Ice Dragon's pirate ship. If he regretted midway, not only Qin Feiyang, but even the Ice Dragon wouldn't let him go. It didn't mention the Black Tortoise world? Qin Feiyang asked. It did. Pei Tianhong nodded, then shook his head, but I don't dare to touch the Black Tortoise world. Even if I kill you, I'll have to give it to it. That's true. In terms of value, a Dominator divine weapon can't compare to a world. Actually, you can see what kind of person the Ice Dragon is. It was willing to give you two Dominator divine weapons, let alone people like you. So if you follow it, you'll be abandoned sooner or later, just like the Ice Dragon God's sword and the Sky Dragon God's sword. Qin Feiyang said. Qin Feiyang had already said this when they were outside, but because he was afraid and angry, he didn't think too much about it. But now that he thought about it carefully, he felt that it made sense. If you follow me, although it'll be dangerous, at least I won't abandon you. This is the character of Qin Feiyang. I'll never abandon my companions and escape alone. Maybe you won't believe it now, but you'll see when you get along with me. Qin Feiyang smiled. I hope so. The Blood Hall Master muttered. To be honest, he still didn't believe it. After living for so many years, he had never seen such a person. Chapter 3354. After Qin Feiyang and Pei Tianhong finished talking, the third commander could no longer hold back his curiosity. He looked at Qin Feiyang and asked, Young master, may I ask, what kind of elixir did Wang Changyuan and the rest take? The second commander and the others, as well as Pei Tianhong, all raised their heads to look at Qin Feiyang. That is the elixir that opens the door of potential. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. So, the first volume of the alchemy scripture is in your hands? The third commander was surprised. I don't know if this is the first volume of the alchemy scripture as I found these elixir recipes in the lower world. Qin Feiyang shook his head. But suddenly, he was slightly stunned. In fact, he could tell. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, Do you have the second volume of the alchemy scripture? Yes. Pei Tianhong nodded and took out a handwritten letter and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Handwritten letter. Qin Feiyang caught the scroll in his hand with a dumbfounded look on his face. He slowly opened the scroll and saw the pill formulas for the Dragon Phoenix Divine Pill. Although the handwritten letter was very old, the handwriting was completely different from the one in the alchemy scripture. Qin Feiyang looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, Is this the original copy of the second volume of the alchemy scripture? No. This is the handwritten letter that I copied. The original copy of the second volume of the alchemy scripture is in the Sky Hall. Pei Tianhong said. Sky Hall. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows. The Sky Hall was in the North Continent. It was impossible for them to make a trip there just to confirm the second volume of the alchemy scripture. But I have seen the original copy of the second volume of the alchemy scripture. Pei Tianhong spoke again. Yes. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned and quickly asked, "Do you still remember the words on it?" Pei Tianhong thought for a while and nodded. "I have some impression." Qin Feiyang immediately looked at Xingde and said, "Prepare the brush and ink." Boss Xing put down his teacup, took out a brush, ink, paper, and inkstone and placed them in front of Pei Tianhong. Qin Feiyang said, "Imitate the original font. Don't make too many characters, just a dozen or so will do." Pei Tianhong held the pen and pondered for a while. Then, he waved the pen and started writing slowly. Very soon. Pei Tianhong looked at Qin Feiyang after those words appeared. Qin Feiyang nodded. Pei Tianhong put down the pen, picked up the paper, and handed it to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang held the paper with both hands and carefully looked at the words on it. Then, he recalled the words on the pill mantra. When the two words overlapped, it was indeed somewhat similar. Furthermore, the six-word divine chant was also created by the god of creation, and the words were similar to what Pei Tianhong was imitating. After a long time, Qin Feiyang put down the paper and picked up the teacup. He sipped the tea and pondered. Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others kept looking at him. After a while, Qin Feiyang looked up at them and smiled. "I can basically confirm that the pill mantra in my hand is the first volume of the pill mantra, and it's the original." The group of people looked at each other. No wonder they couldn't find the first volume of the pill mantra in the sky cloud realm. It turned out that it ran to the lower realm. But who created this pill mantra? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. The group of people shook their heads. Who knew? But it should be a great figure. The god of creation. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. What? The god of creation. The group of people suddenly stood up, their faces full of shock. That's right. Do you know who created the six-word divine chant, which is the slaughter domain? Qin Feiyang asked again. Pei Tianhong pondered for a while and looked up at Qin Feiyang in shock, asking, "Is it also the god of creation?" Yes. Even the ancient castle should be built by the god of creation. Qin Feiyang nodded. This, Pei Tianhong and the others were dumbfounded. The ancient castle, the six-word divine chant, they all belong to the god of creation. But why would it be in Qin Feiyang's hands? Could it be that Qin Feiyang is related to the god of creation? No, no, no. It should be that Qin Feiyang was lucky and got something from the god of creation. You are really lucky. Pei Tianhong shook his head, his eyes full of envy. Luck? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Yes. To be able to get something from the god of creation, how can my luck be bad? Pei Tianhong said. No, no, no. The ancient castle, the six-word divine chant, and the Chang Shui, that was snatched by small beast, they all came with me when I was born. Qin Feiyang shook his head. What? Came with you? This time, Pei Tianhong and the others couldn't stay calm. What was going on? How could such a terrifying divine chant and divine artifact come with him? This was simply strange. Xingde looked at Qin Feiyang in shock and asked, "Young master, are you the reincarnation of the god of creation?" The reincarnation of the god of creation? Qin Feiyang was stunned and smiled bitterly. How is that possible? If not, then how do you explain what you said? Xingde was suspicious. I can't explain it clearly. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. It doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. You are the reincarnation of the god of creation, right? But you don't look like it. Because if you are really the reincarnation of the god of creation, then small beast and ice dragon wouldn't dare to do this to you. But if you are not related to the god of creation, then the ancient castle, the 6-word divine chant, and the Chang Shui, these divine artifacts that came with you, can't be explained. Strange, really strange. Xingde shook his head and couldn't figure it out. I know. The second commander suddenly yelled. What do you know? Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others looked at him suspiciously. The second commander looked around cautiously and said in a low voice, I think that the young master is the illegitimate son of the god of creation. What the hell? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others were also stunned. Look, the god of creation is also a human, right? Humans have emotions and desires. I think that the god of creation met a new woman outside and accidentally got her pregnant. However, he didn't dare to tell his first wife, so he sent her to the lower world and got the ancient castle and Chang Shui to protect her. The second commander's analysis was very logical. Xingde, Pei Tianhong, and the others almost believed him. Xingde was still mumbling at the side. So the god of creation is also afraid of his wife. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He said angrily, my parents are both in the lower world and they are still alive. Young master, it's possible that they are just your adoptive parents. The second commander thought for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang seriously. It's getting more and more ridiculous, right? Qin Feiyang said angrily. Seeing this, the second commander quickly waved his hand and said, no, no. Young master, please don't be angry. I'm just guessing. Yes, it's just a guess. Don't take it seriously. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled bitterly. This person's imagination was really rich. Xingde pondered for a while and looked at Qin Feiyang. Young master, the second commander's words are not without reason. What if your current parents are really your adoptive parents? You've been brainwashed too. Qin Feiyang was helpless. He didn't know that the second commander had the ability to brainwash. Xingde asked, then have you confirmed your parentage with your current parents? For example, a blood test. This. I haven't. Qin Feiyang shook his head. That's right. It might be possible. Xingde smiled. Qin Feiyang's mouth twitched. He shook his head and said, it will never be possible because the bloodline power is the best proof. Bloodline power? Xingde was stunned. My bloodline power is very special. If it's not my biological child, it definitely won't be there. Qin Feiyang smiled. Special? Not only Xingde, but Pei Tianhong and the others also looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. During the battle, Qin Feiyang also bled, but they didn't see anything special. Enough. What illegitimate child? What reincarnation of the god of creation? It's impossible. Let's stop this topic here. If the discussion continued like this, who knew what these people would say? As for the purple gold dragon blood's bloodline power, Qin Feiyang didn't mention it. Although the purple gold dragon blood's bloodline power was known by everyone in the Great Qin, Forgotten Continent, and Ancient Realm, it was still considered a secret in the Sky Cloud Realm. The group returned to the stone bench. Although they didn't say anything, they were all secretly pondering in their hearts. If it was really as the second commander said, Qin Feiyang was the illegitimate child of the god of creation, or the reincarnation of the god of creation, then it would be a blessing in disguise. They would have found a powerful backer. Old Pei. Qin Feiyang suddenly looked at Pei Tianhong. Pei Tianhong was slightly stunned. He raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Although I've forgiven you, you still need to give me an explanation for what you've done in the past. The Sword Emperor was my ancestor's subordinate. The Mermaid Emperor, White-Winged Emperor, and Black-Winged Emperor were not only my ancestor's subordinates, but also my wife's ancestor. So, you need to obtain their forgiveness before I can truly accept you. Qin Feiyang said. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong sighed. I guessed that this matter wouldn't end so easily. After speaking, he raised his head and drank the tea in his cup. Looking at Qin Feiyang, he stood up and said, "Where are they now?" Qin Feiyang looked at Xingde and said, "Bring him there." Xingde nodded and stood up. Looking at Pei Tianhong, he said, "Follow me." Pei Tianhong took a step forward and followed Xingde to a courtyard not far away. Looking at Pei Tianhong's back, a trace of worry crept into the eyes of the 9 commanders. Don't worry. The 4 of them are all reasonable people. They won't mind. In other words, this is just a formality to make them feel slightly better. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. So magnanimous. The 9 commanders expressed their doubts. You guys have been living in an environment of mutual deception for too long. When you see a person, you feel that there's something fishy about the other party. It's not trustworthy and you have to be wary. However, that's not the case. There are still many good people in this world. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. He then picked up the teacup and tasted it himself. The 9 commanders looked at Pei Tianhong again. After a moment of silence, they suddenly mustered their courage and looked at Qin Feiyang. "Young master, can you help us open the door of potential?" "Of course. As long as the people and beasts who are with me, they have already opened the door of potential." For example, Xingde. Qin Feiyang nodded. "Thank you, young master." The 9 of them were overjoyed. They didn't expect Qin Feiyang to be so straightforward. But, Qin Feiyang smiled again. But? The 9 of them were stunned. Their excited mood was like a basin of cold water being poured down, instantly disappearing. It will depend on your performance. After Qin Feiyang finished his words, he went silent. When the 9 of them heard this, they couldn't help but feel relieved. As long as it wasn't a rejection, it was fine. As for performance, they were still very confident about this. After all, even Wang Changyuan and those dark guards could do it, let alone them. Chapter 33:55. After a while, Pei Tianhong and Xingde returned. The 9 commanders looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, "We didn't make things difficult for you, did we?" "No." Pei Tianhong shook his head and said, "This matter is over, don't mention it again." "That's good." The 9 commanders sighed in relief. Although they didn't torture the Sword Emperor and the other 3, they were all deacons of the Blood Hall, so they were also responsible. If the Sword Emperor and the other 3 couldn't forgive Pei Tianhong, they might hate them too. This was bad for their future development. Because the 4 of them had a deep relationship with Qin Feiyang. If Qin Feiyang had to choose, he would definitely choose the 4 of them. This was what they were worried about. But luckily, as Qin Feiyang said, the 4 of them were very magnanimous people. About half an hour passed. Boom! Somewhere in the Devil's Land, a terrifying aura exploded. Immediately after, the void above collapsed, turning into ice crystals and condensing into a giant wolf hundreds of feet long, emitting a monstrous aura. This is, Qin Feiyang, Pei Tianhong, the 9 commanders, Xingde, and Wang Changyuan all looked up, their eyes filled with shock. In short, other than those who left the Devil's Land, almost everyone ran out and looked at this scene in shock. What is this? It seems to be the aura of the white-eyed wolf. Could it be that it has plundered some terrifying profound meaning again? Wang Xiaojie, Long Tianyu, and Qin Chen stood together, looking at the giant wolf with fear. The 3 of them weren't weak, they had all reached the greater success imperishable realm. However, just the aura emitted by the ice crystal wolf was enough to make them feel despair. Pei Tianhong took a deep breath, looking at the suspicious Qin Feiyang, he explained, "This is the profound meaning of the spacetime law, heart's will." Heart's will. Qin Feiyang froze. That's right. The profound meaning of the spacetime law is to use spacetime as the foundation to evolve various forms of objects. In short, shattering spacetime, using spacetime fragments as an attack. For example, if you think of a sword in your heart, then this spacetime fragment can transform into an ice crystal sword. By the same logic, if you think of an arrow in your heart, then it can become an arrow. Pei Tianhong said. In other words, the spacetime fragment will become whatever I think of? Qin Feiyang asked. Yes. This is the so-called heart following one's wishes. Pei Tianhong nodded. No wonder, Qin Feiyang mumbled. Whether it was Chu Yun or the Alliance Master, when they activated the supreme profound meaning, sometimes it was a sword, sometimes it was a large number of arrows, and sometimes it was something else. It turned out that they moved according to their thoughts. Little Qin Zi, take this. The white-eyed wolf soared into the sky in high spirits. His cultivation had also reached the early stage of the sovereign realm. He lowered his head and looked at Qin Feiyang, his eyes filled with provocation. Take this? Qin Feiyang rolled his eyes. What kind of joke was this? With his cultivation at the early stage of the sovereign realm and the supreme profound meaning of the supreme profound meaning, the white-eyed wolf could even instantly kill an ordinary peak sovereign realm expert, let alone him. I knew you wouldn't dare. The white-eyed wolf laughed proudly. He glanced at another courtyard and chuckled. Little madman, come out and fight with me. The madman was sitting in the pavilion, drinking tea and chatting with Shuo Xiaoxian while cultivating their relationship. How could he be in the mood to care about the white-eyed wolf? However, there was a fundamental difference between the madman and Shuo Xiaoxian and Qin Feiyang and the mermaid princess. Boring. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. This guy is a little arrogant. Qin Feiyang's face darkened. He looked at Pei Tianhong and said, Old Pei, extinguish his arrogance. Pei Tianhong nodded. He activated instant time and instantly appeared in front of the white-eyed wolf. The law of time surged out and punched at the white-eyed wolf. Boom! The white-eyed wolf shattered. Damn you! I didn't look for you. What are you doing here? The white-eyed wolf was instantly enraged. It's the young master's order. Pei Tianhong said expressionlessly and returned to the tea garden. The white-eyed wolf was unhappy. He landed in front of Qin Feiyang and said angrily, You don't dare to fight, so you let little Pei do it. What's the point? Little Pei? Pei Tianhong's mouth twitched. What kind of name was this? It made him sound like a eunuch. If I also grasped 3 supreme profound meanings, do you think I wouldn't dare to come? Let's talk about it later. When I activated the slaughter zone, why didn't I see you clamoring? Qin Feiyang coldly rolled his eyes. The slaughter zone is so ridiculous. Would I dare to clamor with you? The white-eyed wolf smiled embarrassedly. Then why are you still clamoring? Qin Feiyang glared at him fiercely. He looked up at Pei Tianhong and asked, Other than Heavenly Palace, Divine Palace, Rogue Cultivator Alliance, and Demon Palace, do you know anyone else who has grasped the supreme profound meanings of the supreme profound meanings? When the ingrate heard this, he immediately stared at Pei Tianhong. Now, he had grasped the time law, space law, and death law. And to break through to the perfection dominator realm, he still had to plunder 3 supreme profound meanings. Demon Palace and Rogue Cultivator Alliance were friends, so they naturally wouldn't look for these people. As for Heavenly Palace and Divine Palace, they were not to be trifled with, but they could still consider it. However, it would be best if there was someone who was alone. When Pei Tianhong heard this, he shook his head without even thinking. No, those who have grasped the supreme profound meanings of the supreme profound meanings are all in our 5 forces. My head hurts. Qin Feiyang rubbed his forehead. The white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown. After pondering for a while, he asked, What supreme profound meaning does the great elder of Demon Palace have grasped? Pei Tianhong said, he grasped the destruction law. Destruction law. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. Yes. Pei Tianhong nodded and explained, the destruction law is also one of the strongest laws. Its destructive power is extremely shocking. It is said that the destruction law's ultimate profound can directly destroy the sky cloud realm. Of course, if it is the ultimate profound, not only the destruction law, but other strongest laws can also do it. So strong. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flickered. The Demon Palace's palace master grasped the karma law, while the Blood Palace's great elder grasped the destruction law. If it could seize these two types of law energies, it would be able to step into the perfect sovereign realm. At that time, even a perfect sovereign realm expert would be like an ant in front of it. It could crush the perfect sovereign realm expert with just a flick of its finger. What are you thinking? Let me tell you, don't even think about the Demon Palace's palace master and great elder. Qin Feiyang stared at the white-eyed wolf. The white-eyed wolf smiled embarrassedly and looked at Pei Tianhong. What about the Sky Hall and Deities Hall? There are many of them. For example, the destruction law, life law, death law, and nothingness law. Pei Tianhong said. Nothingness law. The white-eyed wolf was slightly stunned and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. He asked, Lu Xingyang seems to have grasped the nothingness law, right? N. Qin Feiyang nodded. What? You also have someone who grasps the nothingness law here? Pei Tianhong asked. Yes. I have an ancestor, but he is not in the Black Tortoise world right now. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Pei Tianhong and the 9 deacons looked at each other, their eyes filled with shock. Not to mention the white-eyed wolf, just Qin Feiyang and the others. Qin Feiyang, Karma Law. Mermaid Princess, Life Law. Lunatic, Death Law. Qin Badian, Space and Time Law. Fire Lotus, Time Array. Lu Xingyang, Nothingness Law. There were actually 6 people who had comprehended the strongest law. This was indeed a group of perverts. It seems that sooner or later, we will have to make a trip to Sky Palace or Deity Palace. The white-eyed wolf laughed. Let's talk about it when we have the chance. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. At the moment, he did not want to provoke Sky Palace and Deity Palace. Besides, Sky Palace and Deity Palace did not show any hostility to him. If he took the initiative to provoke them now, wouldn't that be deliberately causing trouble? Swish. At this time, Wang Changyuan broke through the air and landed in front of Qin Feiyang. His entire person looked radiant and energetic. He bowed and said, Greetings, young master. How does it feel to open all the doors of potential? Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. Very good. Even my fire law's supreme profound meaning has begun to show signs of loosening. Wang Changyuan was overjoyed. All these years, he had been comprehending the supreme profound meaning of the fire law, and through unremitting efforts, he had reached the last step. But it was this last step that had been stuck for tens of thousands of years. Now, when he opened all the doors of potential, he immediately felt that he seemed to have comprehended something. Then do your best. Mastering 2 supreme profound meanings, even if it's not the strongest law, no one can shake your position as the commander. Qin Feiyang smiled slightly. This subordinate will definitely not disappoint young master. Wang Changyuan bowed and said with a firm expression. As long as he comprehended 2 supreme profound meanings, his strength would increase by leaps and bounds. The 9 deacons could only obey him obediently. Have you counted the number of people? Qin Feiyang asked. I've already counted them. There are 5,200 dark guards. There are 743 high-level, mid-level, and low-level managers. In addition to the 57 dark guards that followed you previously, there are a total of 6,000 people. That's right, exactly 6,000. Wang Changyuan said. So many managers. The white-eyed wolf was stunned. That's for sure. After all, there are more than 10 million disciples in the blood hall. If there are too few managers, then these managers will die of exhaustion. Wang Changyuan smiled. 6,000 people, all of them great perfection sovereigns. There's also little Pei, little Wang, and these 9 idiotic commanders, interesting. Now, our foundation shouldn't be any weaker than those super forces. The white-eyed wolf looked at Qin Feiyang and grinned. There's still a gap. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Although he had 6,000 great perfection sovereigns under his command, only the 10 commanders, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan were truly powerful. Because in the great perfection sovereign realm, it wasn't enough to have more law power. One also had to have supreme profound meanings. As for the Devil Hall and other super forces, they basically had 4 sovereigns with supreme profound meanings. However, he only had Pei Tianhong. Therefore, without the sovereign divine weapon, there was still a huge gap between them and the Devil Hall and other super forces. Chapter 3356. It doesn't matter if there's a gap. After all, we still have the sovereign divine weapon. The white-eyed wolf chuckled and asked, then, what do you want to do with these people? Although the devil's land is much bigger than before, if they all stay here, I'm afraid that this place will become a mess. I've already considered this point. I'm planning to send them to the Central Oblast. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Central Oblast? The white-eyed wolf was stunned for a moment before nodding, that's right, that's right. Anyway, the Central Oblast is empty. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Changyuan and ordered, take them to the Central Oblast to settle them down. Also, tell them not to step into the Devil's Land without my permission. Yes. Wang Changyuan nodded respectfully. Qin Feiyang then looked at the 9 great commanders and smiled faintly, you all can go to the Central Oblast as well. Of course, whether it's you or Wang Changyuan, if you have any problems, you can come to the Devil's Land to find me. Yes. The 9 great commanders responded respectfully. They were quite relieved. Because this was equivalent to having a pass to enter and exit the Devil's Land freely. Although the Black Tortoise world had several forbidden areas, and under the Fire Lotus's purposeful arrangements, they were more dangerous than before. However, the Devil's Land was undoubtedly the true forbidden area. Ordinary people couldn't enter at all. Therefore, to the Black Tortoise world's living beings, the Devil's Land was a place of reverence and yearning. Also, I've said before that the Blood Hall's administrator no longer exists. Now, there are only dark guards. Qin Feiyang spoke again. Understood. Wang Changyuan and the other 9 nodded. Then go. Also, tell Fu Chen to come see me. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. The 10 great commanders turned and left, leaving only Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong. In fact, Pei Tianhong didn't want to stay by Qin Feiyang's side at all because he was basically a personal bodyguard. On the other hand, Qin Feiyang definitely couldn't stay in the Black Tortoise world forever. As long as Qin Feiyang left the Black Tortoise world and appeared in front of others, people would definitely talk about him if they saw him, the Blood Hall's Hall Master, following Qin Feiyang closely. Just thinking about it made him a little scared. How could Qin Feiyang not see through Pei Tianhong's inner thoughts? He smiled faintly. Old Pei, I'm actually giving you a chance. Give me a chance. Pei Tianhong was stunned. Yeah. If you stay by my side, you'll have more opportunities to perform. In that case, you'll be able to unlock the door of potential before the others. Think about it. If you can comprehend a few more supreme profundities, in addition to the supreme profundities of the laws of time that you already possess, how strong would you be? Qin Feiyang chuckled. Pei Tianhong's heart skipped a beat. If that was the case, Then he could easily crush people like Elder Hua and the Devil Hall's Hall Master. You have to cherish it. It's a rare opportunity. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. Pei Tianhong pondered for a while and sighed. All right, I'll work hard. Yeah. That's the attitude you should have. Don't think that following me is a disgrace. I'm not bragging, but once the potential elixir is exposed, the number of people who will take the initiative to follow me will definitely line up from the western mainland to the eastern mainland. Qin Feiyang smiled. That's true, but it'll also be coveted by others. Pei Tianhong said. Now that I have 2 Dominator Divine weapons in the slaughter zone, other than the Ice Dragon and the Small Beast, who am I afraid of? Sky Hall, Deity's Hall. To be honest, I can't wait for them to find trouble with me. That way, I'll have an excuse to attack them openly and fulfill the White-Eyed Wolf's wish. Qin Feiyang smiled. Pei Tianhong's heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, he still targeted Sky Hall and Deity's Hall. He only hoped that the 2 forces would be tactful, otherwise, sooner or later, they would follow in the footsteps of their Blood Hall. Shua! Before his voice faded, the horsetail whisk appeared beside Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled. You're a Dominator Divine weapon, there's no need for you to go to the land of Source. From now on, you'll follow old Pei and never leave my side. Okay. The horsetail whisk responded and then disappeared into Qin Feiyang's body. Let's go. Qin Feiyang put down the teacup and got up and smiled at Pei Tianhong and the White-Eyed Wolf. Where are we going? Pei Tianhong was stunned and quickly got up and asked. We're going to Sky Cloud Island to visit Big Brother, then we'll go to the Yin Demon Land. Qin Feiyang smiled. Big Brother? Pei Tianhong was stunned. Sky Cloud Realm isn't that little rabbit's territory. Qin Dage. But at this moment, Yueqing and Yi Miao ran over. Qin Feiyang looked at the 2 suspiciously. The 2 ran in front of Qin Feiyang and looked at the obedient Pei Tianhong. In their hearts, they admired Qin Feiyang to the extreme. Not only did he destroy the Blood Hall, but he also subdued an expert like the Blood Hall Master. Especially Yi Miao, she rejoiced. Fortunately, she didn't listen to Pei Tianhong's instigation and cooperate with the Blood Hall. Otherwise, not only the Blood Hall, but she would also be a prisoner. No. The reason why Pei Tianhong was still alive was because Qin Feiyang valued his strength. But what about her? Except for the Heavenly Joy Building, she had nothing. And in truth, the Heavenly Joy Building wasn't hers because it was built by Yueqing. Yueqing looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled. Qin Dage, we're going back to the eastern continent. Can you send us back? Sure. Qin Feiyang nodded and smiled. There's one more thing. Look, you've already let the Rogue Cultivator Alliance take over the western continent. Should the Heavenly Joy Building, at this point, Yueqing didn't continue because she knew Qin Feiyang would definitely understand what she meant. Her eyes were filled with anticipation. About this, Qin Feiyang pondered for a while and smiled. You don't have to look for me. Just look for the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. Thank you, Qin Dage. The 2 of them were overjoyed. Although Qin Feiyang didn't say it explicitly, it was obvious what he meant. As for the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, because of their relationship with Qin Feiyang, they would definitely not reject them. Although I'm not against it, you have to be sensible. Whether it's the Demonic Hall in the Eastern Continent or the Rogue Cultivator Alliance in the Western Continent, I personally think that you should share some benefits with them. After all, there's a saying that a win-win situation is the best situation. Qin Feiyang added. The 2 girls were stunned for a moment before they understood what Qin Feiyang meant. They said gratefully, thank you, Qin Dage, for your reminder. When the time comes, we'll definitely take the initiative to look for the Demonic Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance to discuss the distribution of benefits. Although the Heavenly Joy Building would earn less if they shared a portion of the benefits with the Demonic Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance, what Qin Feiyang said made sense. The Heavenly Joy Building would only be able to develop smoothly if they were on good terms with the Demonic Hall and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. They would just treat it as paying protection fees. Besides, there was another benefit. After paying protection fees, it would mean that they would have two backers in the future. Qin Feiyang was also very satisfied with the attitude of Yueqing and the Rogue Cultivator Alliance. There was a saying that went, if there's sacrifice, there's gain. One couldn't only know how to take but not give. In this world, there weren't that many kind-hearted people who would help you selflessly. Swoosh! Qin Feiyang waved his hand and appeared in the sky above the blood hall with the three of them and the white-eyed wolf. The battle waves had yet to calm down. No one and no ferocious beast dared to approach this place. Therefore, other than Qin Feiyang and the other living beings in the western continent still didn't know who had won the battle. Qin Feiyang glanced around and looked at the white-eyed wolf. Send them back to the eastern continent. The white-eyed wolf waved its claws and the space-time laws emerged. A space-time teleportation channel appeared. Thank you, Brother Wolf. The two girls obediently thanked the white-eyed wolf and turned to enter the space-time teleportation channel. Qin Feiyang smiled and said, "It's so convenient to have the space-time laws." Of course. The white-eyed wolf smiled proudly. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and said angrily, "Can you not always look so arrogant? Without our help, would you have been able to integrate 3 supreme laws so quickly?" I know. I will remember your contributions in my heart and will definitely repay you in the future." The white-eyed wolf grinned and opened another space-time teleportation channel to Sky Cloud Island. Qin Feiyang shook his head helplessly and then walked in without looking back. Sky Cloud Island. It was as quiet and peaceful as ever, like a paradise. The little rabbit was lying on the top of the mountain, drinking the black tortoise divine brew, crossing its legs and looking at the sky leisurely. It was simply like a celestial being. Suddenly, a space-time channel appeared in front of it. The little rabbit looked at the space-time channel and then withdrew its gaze because it had sensed Qin Feiyang's aura. Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong walked out of the space-time channel one after another. Big brother. Qin Feiyang waved at the little rabbit and smiled, then stepped in front of it. Is this the big brother he was talking about? Pei Tianhong was startled. The little rabbit glanced at Pei Tianhong the white-eyed wolf, then looked at Qin Feiyang and nodded, "Not bad, you have a conscience. You came to visit Big Brother just after winning the Blood Hall. How do you know we won the Blood Hall?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. This little rabbit was on Sky Cloud Island, and the 9-Dragon Mountain Range was thousands of miles away. The battle fluctuations couldn't reach here at all. Uncle Rabbit knows everything, there is nothing I don't know. The little rabbit said proudly. All right. Qin Feiyang smiled helplessly, but Big Brother, you are a little unreasonable. How is it unreasonable? The little rabbit was suspicious. You are playing dumb. When we came to you for help, not only did you not help us, you even sent us to the Blood Hall's nest. If we didn't run fast enough, you would have helped us collect our corpses. Qin Feiyang was displeased. Resentment? The little rabbit glanced at Qin Feiyang. Of course. We treated you as our big brother, but you cheated us like this. Doesn't your conscience hurt? Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. Conscience? Kid, Uncle Rabbit didn't want to say it. I felt that it was unnecessary because it was a small matter. But with your current attitude, if Uncle Rabbit doesn't say it, you really don't know how much you owe me. The little rabbit's face darkened. Qin Feiyang was stunned and puzzled. What do I owe you? Do you think you can beat Ice Dragon with your strength? The little rabbit asked with disdain. Huh? Qin Feiyang looked at the little rabbit in a daze. Why did it suddenly mention Ice Dragon? Chapter 3357. Wait a minute. Could it be, suddenly? Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled as he looked at the little rabbit. The ice dragon appeared at that time. What do you think? If it wasn't for me, Uncle Rabbit, holding it back, would you be able to destroy the blood hall? Would you be able to subdue Pei Tianhong? The little rabbit sneered. This, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. The ice dragon actually appeared. They actually didn't notice it at all. Pei Tianhong clenched his fists. It turned out that the ice dragon had appeared, but it was held back by the little rabbit. In that case, the culprit was still this little rabbit. A wave of anger suddenly rose in his heart. Qin Feiyang noticed Pei Tianhong's abnormality and secretly glanced at him. He couldn't help but frown secretly. It seemed that it wasn't easy to make this person truly submit. What's wrong? Looking at your eyes, you seem to hate me. The little rabbit also noticed Pei Tianhong's abnormality and raised its head with a contemptuous smile. I hate you. Pei Tianhong didn't deny it, but there was a trace of helplessness on his face. So what if he hated him now? Being controlled by the slave seal, if Qin Feiyang was willing, he could even know what he was thinking. In such a situation, would he dare to rebel? Before he could take action, Qin Feiyang had already erased his soul. The little rabbit glanced at him indifferently and ignored him. It looked at Qin Feiyang and said, Do you still dare to talk about conscience with Uncle Rabbit now? I don't dare, I don't dare. I was wrong, I apologize to you. Qin Feiyang quickly smiled apologetically. Originally, the little rabbit was so concerned about him. Because if it didn't care, then it wouldn't have known that the ice dragon was coming, let alone help to hold it back. The little rabbit said aggrievedly, Uncle Rabbit is sad now, you have to compensate. Compensate? Qin Feiyang was stunned, then patted his head and smiled, I understand, I understand. With that, he waved his hand and 1,000 jars of black tortoise divine wine appeared. So much? The little rabbit couldn't help but light up. Qin Feiyang went on, in fact, the reason I came to Heavenly Cloud Island this time was to deliver the black tortoise divine brew to you. The little rabbit was stunned. She raised her head and looked at Qin Feiyang suspiciously. Qin Feiyang smiled, I'm preparing to go to the Yin Demon Land. I don't know when I'll come out, so before I leave, I came to give you some. Why are we going to the Yin Devil Land? The little rabbit frowned. There's news of an enemy. It appeared in the Yin Devil Land, so I want to take a look. Qin Feiyang smiled. When little rabbit heard this, her eyes flashed slightly. She smiled and said, before you leave, you can still think of Uncle Rabbit. You do have some conscience. Of course. I can forget anyone, but I can't forget you, Big Brother. But Big Brother, you are really powerful. You even have the power to fight against the ice dragon. Qin Feiyang chuckled, his face full of admiration. The power to fight? Little Rabbit was stunned. She hurriedly waved her paws and said, No, 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 my strength is far from that of the ice dragon. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Since there was such a huge difference, how did she hold back the ice dragon? There are some things that you won't understand even if I tell you. Little Rabbit smiled mysteriously and then said, but I'm curious. Why is the ice dragon targeting you? To be honest, I don't know either. Qin Feiyang shook his head. Is there a need for you to be like this? If I don't agree, you won't answer me out of revenge. Little Rabbit looked at Qin Feiyang unhappily. What a petty man. No, no. Qin Feiyang hurriedly waved his hands and sighed, I really don't know. I feel that it's weird. I'm not lying to you. If I lie to you, I'll die a horrible death. Looking at Qin Feiyang's serious attitude, Little Rabbit frowned. Even Qin Feiyang himself did not know what secret was hidden within. Forget it. Let's not think about it anymore. Little Rabbit was also someone who did not want to find trouble for herself. She waved her claws and a space teleportation tunnel appeared. Go, be careful. I will. Qin Feiyang nodded his head and smiled. But looking at the space teleportation tunnel, he was a little hesitant. What do you mean? You think that Big Brother will trick you again? Little Rabbit raised her eyebrows. Cough, cough. Qin Feiyang coughed dryly and said with an embarrassed smile, once bitten, twice shy. Little Rabbit looked at Qin Feiyang with disdain. Don't worry, I won't trick you this time. Plus, with Pei Tianhong here, even if I throw you into the center of the Yin Demon Land, you won't die. Qin Feiyang laughed dryly and looked at Pei Tianhong the white-eyed wolf. Then let's go. One man and one wolf nodded. Then Big Brother, I'll go first. When I come out, I'll send you wine at the first moment. Qin Feiyang looked at Little Rabbit and said. Go, go. Little Rabbit waved her claws impatiently. Qin Feiyang smiled and led the white-eyed wolf and Pei Tianhong into the space teleportation tunnel. In Demon Land, Little Rabbit muttered to herself. Waiting until the teleportation tunnel disappeared, she took a sip of wine and sighed, Little brother, you can't be careless. In Demon Land is not as simple as everyone thinks. You might die inside. As for me, outside, I can still help you. But in the sky cloud domain, the four great forbidden lands, I'm powerless even if I want to. Saying this, she looked at the sky. Her eyes became incomparably deep, as if she could see through heaven and earth, looking at the scenery that others would never be able to see. Is it related to you? Eastern continent, south. A vast mountain range was located at the edge of the eastern continent. This was the Yin Demon Land. Giant peaks towered into the sky. The tallest one was hundreds of thousands of feet high, towering into the sky. It was almost impossible to see the peak of the mountain. In the mountains, old trees were entwined with vines. Each of the vines was thicker than a bucket and looked like a giant python. And on the ground, there was a thick pile of dead branches and rotten leaves. There was a strong rotten smell that was somewhat pungent. Moreover, there were rivers, swamps, and miasma in the forest. What was even stranger was that there were suns, moons, and stars in other places, but the Yin Demon Land sky was always incomparably dark. For example, at this moment, there was clearly a moon in the sky, but the Yin Demon Land sky was covered with dark clouds. Not to mention the moon, not even a single star could be found. As soon as one came here, they couldn't help but feel depressed and heavy. Because of this, the entire Yin Demon Land was very humid. There was even a gloomy feeling as if they had walked to the gates of hell. Suddenly, outside the Yin Demon Land, above a giant peak, three figures appeared out of thin air. It was Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong. As soon as Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf appeared, they immediately looked around vigilantly. There were many fierce beasts below the mountain. The weakest aura was at the imperishable realm, and there were even a few peak dominator auras. This time, it really didn't trick you. The Yin Demon Land is in front. Pei Tianhong looked below and pointed at the Yin Demon Land in front of them. The man and wolf looked up, and their pupils shrank. Because they immediately noticed the abnormality in the sky above the Yin Demon Land. It's a bit strange. The white-eyed wolf frowned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. He felt uneasy even before entering the Yin Demon Land. Pei Tianhong said, there's no essence in the Yin Demon Land. No essence? Qin Feiyang stilled. Yes. None at all. So normally, when people enter the Yin Demon Land, they will prepare large amounts of God power pills and God crystals. Of course. For Dominator realm cultivators like us, it's not a threat. After all, we're using profundities, unlike those imperishable realm cultivators who can only rely on God power to fight. Pei Tianhong said. That's true. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf nodded. Without spiritual essence, it was a place that couldn't be easily entered by creatures below the imperishable realm. However, there are still things that can threaten us. For example, we can't activate spatial divine items in the Yin Demon Land. Pei Tianhong said. We can't activate spatial divine items. Qin Feiyang stilled and asked suspiciously, then can we enter the Black Tortoise world? I don't know. After all, the Black Tortoise world is a world. We'll only know once we enter. Other than that, there's a mysterious power in the Yin Demon Land. Pei Tianhong's pupils shrank as he said this. It seemed that even he was wary of it. Mysterious power? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf exchanged glances, then looked at Pei Tianhong, waiting for him to continue. That's right. This power is extremely evil. Not only can it erode a living being's physical body, but it can also erode God power and divine soul. The scariest thing is that once this evil power enters the body, it's very difficult to expel it. Even if it's refined, it'll take a very long time. Pei Tianhong said in a low voice. The white-eyed wolf frowned and said, Little Qin Zi, why does this sound so similar to the evil power? I think so too. Qin Feiyang nodded. However, they didn't find any blood mist in the Yin Demon Land like the one in Fallen Valley. Who cares? Let's go in and take a look. The white-eyed wolf scanned the Yin Demon Land and gritted his teeth. Okay. Qin Feiyang nodded. The man and the wolf stepped forward and landed in front of the boundary between the Yin Demon Land and the outside world. Pei Tianhong also followed. He scanned the two sides and waved his hand, sending out a blast of God power toward a bush on the left. Boom! The bush was blown away, and a 1-meter-tall stone tablet immediately appeared in front of Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf. The stone tablet was pure white. Even though it had been standing there for a long time, there wasn't a speck of dust on it. Instead, it glowed with a hazy God power. However, there were 2 lines of words on the stone tablet. 9 deaths, Yin Demon Land. Every word seemed to be condensed from blood, as if they were written by a demon king. They emitted a terrifying murderous aura, and every stroke seemed to contain an invisible killing intent. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf's divine souls trembled uncontrollably when they saw the words. This was a kind of fear. It was a kind of fear that came from the depths of their souls. The more they tried to suppress it, the stronger the fear became. Chapter 33:58. Pei Tianhong glanced at the stone tablet and retracted his gaze. To him, everything in the Yin Demon Land was naturally no stranger. He looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf and said indifferently, although the Yin Demon Land is dangerous, there is also an advantage, that is, you can leave at any time. Qin Feiyang heard this, took a deep breath, and stepped into the Yin Demon Land. Immediately, he felt a mysterious force rushing into his body through the pores of his body. Just as Pei Tianhong said, this force had the ability to erode divine power and divine soul. Strange, Qin Feiyang carefully sensed for a moment, a trace of suspicion crept up between his brows, and then he mobilized his divine power to form a barrier. But this barrier did not have any effect, as if it existed in vain, completely unable to block the mysterious force. So ridiculous. Qin Feiyang raised his eyebrows and activated the power of law, forming a lightning barrier. The mysterious force was immediately blocked outside. It works. This result made Qin Feiyang quite happy, as long as the power of law could block the mysterious force. But before he could turn around and tell the white-eyed wolf, his body suddenly stiffened, and he glanced at the barrier in surprise. He found that the mysterious force in the surroundings was silently eroding the barrier. What's the situation? Even the power of law can be eroded? This made Qin Feiyang extremely surprised. Eroding divine power and divine soul was still acceptable, because this had happened many times before, but this eroding power of law seemed a bit too ridiculous. In other words, this mysterious force, there was nothing that could block it. It's a bit difficult. Qin Feiyang frowned and prepared to try to enter the Black Tortoise world. Relatively speaking, whether or not he could enter the Black Tortoise world was more important. Because if he could enter the Black Tortoise world, then he could go to the Black Tortoise world to take refuge in a fatal crisis. On the contrary, if he could not enter the Black Tortoise world, then he had to be mentally prepared to deal with everything. But, not to mention entering the Black Tortoise world, he couldn't even contact the Black Tortoise world. It was as if there was something between him and the Black Tortoise world. Qin Feiyang frowned and pondered for a while before saying, "Horsetail Whisk, try to see if you can isolate this mysterious power." "I've already tried. The mysterious power here can not only erode the souls of humans, it can also erode the artifact spirits of divine artifacts. However, in comparison, the threat it poses to sovereign weapons is much smaller." The artifact spirit's voice echoed in Qin Feiyang's mind. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang decisively left the Yin Devil land. "How is it?" White-Eyed Wolf asked. "Not good." Qin Feiyang shook his head. Of course, they could enter. Although this mysterious energy could corrode one's divine soul, the corrosive speed was not very fast. It was the same as the ordinary evil energy in the Nether King's hell. Nether King, hell, and two other types of evil power. One was the evil power that pervaded the entire Nether King's hell. The threat of this evil power was relatively small. After accumulating for a while, they could find time to refine it. The other was the evil power in the Fallen Valley. The evil power in the Fallen Valley could not be blocked by anyone other than a madman, not even the Blood Demon tribe. What about the Black Tortoise world? White-Eyed Wolf frowned. "I can't enter. In short, this place is similar to the Nether King's hell." Qin Feiyang said and began to refine the mysterious power in his body. Wait. The aura of this mysterious power seemed to be similar to the evil power. Was it an illusion? Could it be the evil power too? However, after careful analysis, it seemed to be somewhat different from the evil power in the Nether King's hell. After about a few hundred breaths, the mysterious power in his body was finally refined. He had only been in there for a short while, but the mysterious power that had entered his body took so long to refine. How could he continue to stay in there? After entering the Yin Devil land, I have to stop every hour to refine the mysterious power in my body. Otherwise, the mysterious power will directly threaten my divine soul. Pei Tianhong said. "You can stop and refine it in an hour." White-Eyed Wolf was speechless. How could he find the fire dragon if he had to stop and walk like this? Pei Tianhong saw through White-Eyed Wolf's thoughts and shook his head. "Although it's a bit of a waste of time, there's no other way. I remember that in the Nether King's hell, I would usually travel during the day and refine the evil power at night. Now, I have to refine it every hour. This Yin Devil land is really difficult." Qin Feiyang was helpless. Evil power? Pei Tianhong was stunned. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded and scanned the Yin Devil land. It's similar to here. The mysterious power here is called the Yin Devil power. Evil power, Yin Devil power. Could there be any connection between the two? Pei Tianhong frowned. Connection? Qin Feiyang was stunned and immediately thought of the madman. Although only a short while had passed outside, many days had passed in the Black Tortoise world. At this moment, on the balcony on the second floor, the madman and Zhuo Xiaoxian were leaning against each other and their fingers were tightly intertwined. One was handsome, the other fair and beautiful. They leaned against each other and looked at the scenery, like a pair of immortal couples. Their love was deep. The madman lowered his head and looked at Zhuo Xiaoxian in his arms. He couldn't help but lower his head and kiss Zhuo Xiaoxian's red lips. Zhuo Xiaoxian didn't resist. But at this moment, the madman suddenly disappeared. Zhuo Xiaoxian leaned on the madman and was caught off guard. She lost her balance and fell to the wooden floor. She was stunned. What was going on? Where was he? Outside. The madman looked at Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf with a confused expression. He was planning to be intimate and improve their relationship. Why did he suddenly run out? What are you doing? Qin Feiyang raised his arm and waved it in front of the madman's eyes. The madman was stunned. When he came back to his senses, he roared angrily, "I should be the one asking you that. What are you doing?" Ah. Qin Feiyang looked at him suspiciously. He didn't realize that he had ruined the madman's good thing. "Ah, your ass." The madman glared at Qin Feiyang. He was extremely angry. Couldn't he tell him in advance before he came out? Annoying. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Was this guy crazy? Why did you ask me to come out? Tell me. The madman looked at Qin Feiyang in annoyance. Qin Feiyang really didn't understand. He was simply baffled. He said, "Look at this demon land." The madman was slightly stunned. He turned around and looked at the demon land. His eyes were filled with suspicion. He asked, "Is this the demon land?" "Yes." "Go in and take a look," Qin Feiyang said. The madman heard this and frowned. "Is there something weird?" "You will know once you go in." Qin Feiyang pushed the madman in. The madman wanted to be angry, but when he sensed the demon power, he was stunned. What power was this? It was similar to the evil power. Wait. Suddenly, the madman looked into the depths of the demon land. His eyes were filled with shock. Why was there such a close call? Chapter 33:59. Illusion. It had to be an illusion. He shook his head and carefully sensed. Not only did the strange summoning not disappear, it became even stronger. What was going on? He had never been to the demon land before, so how could something summon him? Not only that, but the devil land also gave him a sense of familiarity. How do you feel? Because the madman's back was facing Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf, the two people and the wolf did not see the expression on his face. Don't be noisy. The madman shouted without turning his head, his eyes constantly scanning the depths of the demon land. After confirming again and again, this familiar summoning was real. Is it really as old Qin and the others guessed? I am someone's reincarnation and I came here in my previous life. The madman scratched his head in confusion. He always thought that the mystery of his birth was in the Nether King Hell, but now he was shaken. Could it be that his birth was the same as Qin Baishan's birth and could be in the sky cloud world? Little madman, what are you doing? Seeing the madman not move, the white-eyed wolf's face was filled with suspicion. The madman came back to his senses and retreated from the demon power. Qin Feiyang said, "Quickly refine the demon power in your body." Demon power? The madman stilled and then checked his body, only to find the demon power that had entered his body. What was this? Muttering, the madman used his divine power, which was the evil power, to refine the demon power. However, a change occurred. When the madman's evil power and the demon power met, the two quickly merged together and did not pose any threat to him. Even the madman was stunned by this scene. The demon power and the evil power could merge together. Could it be that these two powers were born in the same place? What are you doing now? Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf frowned. Since entering the Yin demon land, why had this guy's actions become so strange? Could it be that his divine soul had already been corroded by the power of the Yin devil? The madman looked at the man and wolf and entered the Yin devil land without a word. A storm appeared around him. The formless Yin demon power in the surroundings immediately surged into his body like a tide. What? Not only Qin Feiyang and the madman, but even Pei Tianhong's expression changed. Other people would think of ways to prevent the Yin devil energy from entering their body, but this person actually took the initiative to absorb it. He was courting death. But the madman stood in the Yin demon land with a very calm expression. The Yin demon power continued to enter his body and quickly fused with the evil power. Furthermore, he discovered that as the two powers fused, a new power seemed to be born. Time slowly passed. Suddenly, the madman raised his arm and a dark red mysterious power slowly emerged from his palm. It was like a strand of hair. Although it looked inconspicuous, it emitted an aura that made one's heart palpitate. What is it? Qin Feiyang, the white-eyed wolf, and Pei Tianhong also felt this aura. Just this aura alone made their divine souls feel great danger. They couldn't help but be curious as they stepped out and landed beside the madman. When they saw the dark red power at such a close distance, the sense of danger in their hearts became even stronger. It was as if just this strange power could cause great damage to their divine souls. Little madman, I'm asking you a question. The white-eyed wolf urged. Are you deaf? There was no response. The madman looked at the white-eyed wolf and then at Qin Feiyang and Pei Tianhong. Finally, he looked at the strange dark red power and shook his head. I also don't know what this is. You don't know? The two men and one wolf were shocked. Didn't this come from your body? Can you not joke around? The white-eyed wolf was very annoyed. The madman's brow rose as he stared at the white-eyed wolf in annoyance. I really don't know because this is the product of the fusion of evil power and Yin demon power. Fusion. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stared. Did they hear wrongly? Evil power and Yin demon power could actually fuse. Didn't that mean that the madman wasn't afraid of the Yin demon power at all? What evil power? Pei Tianhong, on the other hand, was confused. It's none of your business. The madman glanced at him indifferently. Then he looked at Qin Feiyang and the madman and said, I'm also puzzled. These two powers can actually fuse, and after fusing, a new kind of power was born. I even have a feeling that this strand of power should be able to heavily injure your souls. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf stared at the dark red power with a strange light in their eyes. The white-eyed wolf suddenly looked at Qin Feiyang and smiled mischievously. Little Qin Zi, why don't you try and see how strong this power is? Qin Feiyang's body stiffened as he said angrily, why don't you come? The madman himself said that this power could heavily injure their divine souls. Although it was an uncertain statement, what if it could really be done? The white-eyed wolf smiled awkwardly as he glanced at Pei Tianhong. This old man's cultivation was strong. Even if his divine soul was hit, he wouldn't die. Snickering inwardly, the white-eyed wolf gave the madman a look. The madman also understood. With a wave of his hand, the dark red energy shot towards Pei Tianhong's forehead. What are you doing? Pei Tianhong was shocked. Just an experiment, take out your divine soul. The madman grinned. Seeing Pei Tianhong's face darken, he said flatteringly, don't worry, your cultivation is so high, nothing will happen. Pei Tianhong was speechless, but he felt that this power was not much of a threat to him. Didn't he say he would perform well? Fine. He would take the risk and try. Whoosh! The divine soul shot out of the forehead and collided with the dark red power. A shocking scene appeared. When it met with Pei Tianhong's divine soul, the dark red power turned into a bloody mist that wrapped tightly around Pei Tianhong's divine soul. Pei Tianhong's eyebrow rose. His divine soul also turned into a mist that wrapped around the dark red bloody mist and then started to refine it. Yet, the more he refined, the more shocked he was. This dark red power was even harder to refine than the Mo power. Just this strand of power, if he wanted to change it into devil power, with his cultivation, he could do it in a few breaths. But this dark red power was extremely tenacious. Also, the corrosive power it contained was terrifying, as if it wanted to devour his divine soul. After several hundred breaths, he finally refined it. His divine soul immediately returned to his consciousness. He then looked at the madman with his brows furrowed together as if he was looking at a monster. "How is it?" The madman looked expectantly at Pei Tianhong. "Very strong." Pei Tianhong nodded. "How strong is very strong? Can you be more clear?" The white-eyed wolf was displeased. Pei Tianhong glanced at it and said in a low voice, "Let's put it this way, someone with the same cultivation as the madman will definitely not be able to block this power." "No way." The white-eyed wolf did not believe it. Chapter 3360. You can try if you don't believe me. Pei Tianhong looked at the white-eyed wolf and said calmly. The white-eyed wolf gritted his teeth and said, "Let's try, who's afraid of who? Little madman, come." Only a strand of power was born now. Madman shook his head. The white-eyed wolf heard this and sighed inwardly. He looked at Pei Tianhong and said, "Don't say I don't dare, it's he who doesn't." Pei Tianhong looked down on him. He was clearly scared to death but still had to pretend to be strong. Wasn't he tired? This power is not only strong, but it's also the same as the demon power. It can enter anywhere. Even if the soul is in the knowledge sea, this power can still enter. Especially its toughness and corrosiveness, it's several times stronger than the demon power. If madman has enough of this power, then with this power, it's enough to destroy a faction. Pei Tianhong was shocked. This was the first time he saw such a strange power. Hearing this, Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf looked at each other. Pei Tianhong definitely wouldn't joke with them. Just this thing alone could destroy a faction. It was too strong. Of course. I'm not talking about the super factions, just normal factions. Also, if your cultivation is higher than madman, then although you will be affected, the threat won't be too great. Pei Tianhong said again. Qin Feiyang heard this and turned to madman. He frowned and said, "Senior brother, what kind of freak are you?" "You're the freak." Madman glared at him and then looked into the depths of the demon land. "Actually, the strangest thing is that there seems to be something calling me." "Calling you?" Qin Feiyang was taken aback. "Yes. A very intimate call." Madman nodded. "An intimate call," Qin Feiyang lowered his head and muttered. He suddenly looked at Madman in shock. "Could it be your background? I think so too." Madman nodded. This, Qin Feiyang couldn't believe it. Madman's past was also related to the sky cloud realm. However, we can't jump to conclusions because we haven't confirmed it yet. Madman shook his head again. He couldn't have too much hope. After all, there was a saying that the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Since something is calling you and you can absorb the devil's power, what are we hesitating for? Let's charge in. The white-eyed wolf urged. Yes. The madman nodded and turned around to grab Qin Feiyang's arm. A suction force appeared in his palm and the energy that had entered Qin Feiyang's body immediately flowed into the madman's palm. This made Qin Feiyang very envious. "Brother Wolf, when you were in the Nether King's hell, weren't you able to absorb the evil energy? Why don't you give it a try and see if you can absorb the devil energy?" Madman suddenly looked at the white-eyed wolf and said. "That's right." The white-eyed wolf patted his head and a powerful suction force appeared. The fallen leaves flew and gradually formed a huge whirlpool around him. Qin Feiyang and the other two couldn't help but retreat. Pei Tianhong was extremely depressed. The Yin Devil energy made all the creatures in the sky cloud realm tremble in fear. But the man and wolf in front of him actually took the initiative to absorb it into their bodies. It wasn't an exaggeration to say that they were monsters. After a while, the wind listened and the leaves fell. The white-eyed wolf turned to look at the three and grinned. Brother really has a divine physique. I can absorb any kind of energy. Awesome. Madman gave a thumbs up. Qin Feiyang and Pei Tianhong were shocked. They could really absorb it. Isn't this too outrageous? Divine physique. It was really possible. The white-eyed wolf and Madman looked at each other and then looked at Qin Feiyang at the same time. Jealous? Jealous? Looking at the man and wolf's faces, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but roll his eyes. He glanced at Pei Tianhong and asked, "Are you jealous?" Jealous. Pei Tianhong was still in shock and instinctively nodded. But just as he finished speaking, he reacted and shook his head. There's nothing to be jealous of. That's right. What's there to be jealous of? Qin Feiyang chuckled and then looked at Madman and White-Eyed Wolf. Besides, no matter how powerful you are, you can't block the slaughter domain. Hearing this, the man and wolf's veins popped. Can you stop showing off your slaughter domain in front of us? Are you jealous of my slaughter domain? Qin Feiyang chuckled and stepped out of the Yin Devil land. He waved his hand and Wang Changyuan appeared. When he saw the Yin Devil land, Wang Changyuan's pupils shrank. Although it wasn't his first time here, the reverence he had for the Yin Devil land was deeply ingrained in his heart. Unless he had no other choice, he really didn't want to step into this place. Qin Feiyang smiled. Don't worry, this Yin Devil power is no longer a threat. No threat? Wang Changyuan was stunned. What did that mean? Could it be that the Yin Devil power had disappeared? He glanced at the Yin Demon land and suspiciously took a step forward. He landed in front of Pei Tianhong, the madman, and the ingrate and immediately felt the Yin Demon power enveloping them. It didn't disappear. Wang Changyuan frowned and looked suspiciously at Qin Feiyang. It's fine, lead the way. Qin Feiyang faintly smiled and also landed beside them with a single step. How can it be fine? Wang Changyuan muttered. He didn't dare to disobey. He waved his hand and swept up Qin Feiyang, Madman, and White-Eyed Wolf. He turned into a ray of light and rushed into the depths of the Yin Devil land. Demon Hall. In a large hall. The Demon Hall Master, Elder Hua, and Chu Yun sat together. We've finally gotten rid of our old enemy, the Blood Hall. It wasn't easy. Elder Hua sighed and smiled. Yeah. The Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun nodded and were filled with emotions. As the overlord of the Western continent, they had stood tall in the sky cloud realm for countless years. In the end, they were defeated by a junior. They had to admit that fate made fools of them. Chu Yun suddenly looked at Elder Hua and asked, since we've gotten rid of the Blood Hall, shouldn't we talk to Qin Feiyang? Talk about what? Elder Hua was stunned and looked at her suspiciously. Playing dumb. Of course it's about opening the door of potential. Chu Yun said angrily. About that. Elder Hua smiled and pondered for a while. We've helped him so much. It shouldn't be a problem to ask, right? Why don't? Elder Hua raised his head and looked at the Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun, only to find that both of them were looking at him. All right. I'll contact him. Elder Hua shook his head and smiled bitterly. He took out the Divine Sound Transmission Stone and sent a message to Qin Feiyang. However, after waiting for a long time, there was no response from the Divine Sound Transmission Stone. What's going on? Elder Hua frowned. The Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun looked at each other with a trace of suspicion in their eyes. Elder Hu tried a few more times. Seeing that Qin Fei Yang still didn't respond, he sent a message to Madman. After waiting for a long time, Madman still didn't respond. The Demon Hall Master couldn't sit still anymore. He looked at Elder Hu and said, "Did they run away with our sovereign divine weapon?" Hearing this, a cold light flashed in Chu Yun's eyes. "They won't." Elder Hu waved his hand and said, "Didn't they say that they were going to the Yin Demon Land? I think they've already gone. You all know the situation in the Yin Demon Land. As long as they enter, they will lose contact." "Teacher, you trust them that much?" Chu Yun raised her eyebrows. "You have to believe in this old man's judgment. This old man has never misjudged anyone. You are the best example. When this old man taught you back then, I also valued your character. Talent was only secondary. Look at you now. Have you disappointed this old man?" Elder Hu chuckled. "How can I be the same as them?" Chu Yun looked at Elder Hu with dissatisfaction. Good, good, good. I was wrong. You're the best." Elder Hu smiled helplessly. He looked at the two of them and comforted them, "Believe in me. If they really ran away with the sovereign divine weapon, I promise that I'll find them even if I have to search the entire sky cloud boundary. We'll talk about it later. Aren't Xue Tianxing, Lu Jingyuan, and the others still here?" Elder Hu added. "All right." The Demon Hall Master and Chu Yun looked at each other and nodded. At this point, they could only believe it. Chapter 3361. The Yin Demon Land. Qin Fei Yang and the others didn't enter for long before they encountered a fierce beast. It was a cheetah. It was about a dozen meters long, with black fur all over its body, but its eyes were like blood, emitting a bloody light. The cheetah's cultivation was at the great perfection imperishable realm. If this cultivation was placed in the ancient world, it would definitely be an extremely strong existence. But in the sky cloud realm, it could only be considered average. After all, in the sky cloud realm, sovereign realm experts were like dogs, so what was a great perfection imperishable realm expert? However, this cheetah attracted Qin Fei Yang's attention. "Stop!" Qin Fei Yang said. Wang Changyuan slammed on the brakes and stopped, looking suspiciously at Qin Fei Yang. Seeing that Qin Fei Yang was looking at the cheetah, he also looked at the prey, but didn't find anything unusual. Because he had been to the Yin Demon Land, the fierce beasts here all had blood-red eyes, so there was nothing strange about it. Including Pei Tianhong. He also didn't find anything unusual. But Qin Fei Yang, the madman, and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but frown. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan had always lived in the sky cloud realm and had never been to the Nether King's hell, so even if they saw this, they wouldn't find anything strange. But Qin Fei Yang and the white-eyed wolf were different. They had been to the Nether King's hell and were very familiar with the fierce beasts there. And the prey in front of them, although its fur wasn't blood-red, its eyes were extremely similar to the fierce beasts of the Nether King's hell. "Senior brother, the white-eyed wolf. Do you think the fierce beasts of the Yin Demon Land are the same as the fierce beasts of the Nether King's hell? Not only can they survive in the Yin Demon Land, but they can also use the power of the Yin Demon to grow." Qin Fei Yang frowned. The fierce beasts of the Nether King's hell grew by absorbing evil power. "It's possible." The white-eyed wolf nodded. "It's not possible, it's definitely like this. There's one more thing that I didn't tell you. I also have a sense of familiarity with the Yin Demon power." The madman frowned, he was very confused about everything he was facing right now. "What?" The white-eyed wolf and Qin Fei Yang looked at each other. On the side, Pei Tianhong and Wang heard this, their mouths agape. No kidding. A sense of familiarity with the Yin Demon power. In the sky cloud realm, who didn't know that the power of the Yin demons was a nightmare that they couldn't get rid of? The Yin demon power was the biggest threat of the Yin demon land S's Hell's hell. Since ancient times, who knew how many living beings had been corroded by the power of the Yin demons and died here? Dida, tts a die, s die. They, t no, test, s great s demon, s. Now that the two have merged, a new power was born. Qin Feiyang muttered to himself. His eyes suddenly trembled as he turned to look at the madman and asked, "Senior brother, this Yin demon, Nether Kings, was left here in your previous life?" Ah. The madman was stunned and then rolled his eyes. "Do you really think I'm the reincarnation of some great being? That's not a possibility." Qin Feiyang smiled. "Come on, I don't believe it. I'd rather believe that I was born extraordinary, with good character and good luck." The madman narcissistically rubbed his chin and laughed. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf couldn't help but roll their eyes at him. Others might have been more like it, but who doesn't know who you are in the ancient world? Just as the two people and the wolf were chatting, the prey noticed the group of people. Its blood-red eyes immediately looked towards the group of people, and an ominous glint flashed. But when it saw that the cultivation of the group was unfathomable, it immediately roared in fear and ran away with its tail between its legs. It's quite self-aware. The white-eyed wolf bared its teeth. It was about to eat meat. "I wonder if leopard meat tastes good." Continue. Qin Feiyang looked at Wang Changyuan. Wang Changyuan nodded and continued forward with the others. The reason why he let Wang Changyuan lead the way was because only Wang Changyuan knew where he had seen the fire dragon before. Next, they encountered many beasts. However, some of them didn't have blood-red eyes and looked like normal beasts. "Old Pei, let me ask you a few questions." Qin Feiyang turned his head and looked at Pei Tianhong. "Go ahead." Although he didn't try to curry favor with him like Wang Changyuan, his current attitude was still okay. From the general situation, the beasts with blood-red eyes should live in the Yin demon land all year round and can absorb the Yin demon's power. As for the ferocious beasts with normal-colored eyes, they probably came from the outside, right? Qin Feiyang asked. "That's right. The beasts are the same as us humans. When they see a good place, they naturally want to go in to look for opportunities. However, they don't dare to go too deep. They only dare to take it from the edge." Pei Tianhong explained. "Can the beasts living in the Yin demon land leave the Yin demon land?" Qin Feiyang was suspicious. When he was in the Nether King's Hell, he talked to the King of Hell and said that whether it was the blood demon race or the beasts in the Nether King's Hell, they couldn't leave the evil force. Since the evil force and the Yin demon's power belong to the same source, the beasts in the Yin demon land shouldn't be able to leave the Yin demon land. The beasts living here can go out, but they won't be out for too long. Pei Tianhong said. In general, they still can't leave the Yin demon's power? Qin Feiyang asked. Pei Tianhong nodded and smiled faintly. To them, the Yin demon's power is equivalent to food. Without food, they won't be able to survive. It seems like the evil force and the Yin demon's power are really connected. Maybe these two powers came from the same place. Qin Feiyang muttered. Hearing this, the frenzy's expression was a little hesitant. Was the mystery of his origin in the Yin demon land? In the blink of an eye. An hour passed. Qin Feiyang had already reached his limit. The Yin demon's power in his body was crazily rushing towards his soul. Senior brother, hurry. Qin Feiyang looked at the frenzy and urged him. If he didn't absorb it now, he would definitely die here. The frenzy raised his hand and grabbed Qin Feiyang's shoulder. The Yin demon's power in Qin Feiyang's body turned into a flood and rushed into the frenzy's body. Seeing this scene, Wang Changyuan's face was filled with shock. Following which, the frenzy raised his hands and pressed them on Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan's shoulders. The Yin demon's power in their bodies also quickly disappeared. Pervert. Wang Changyuan muttered. He finally understood why Qin Feiyang told him not to worry. The frenzy could absorb the Yin demon's power. Wait. He looked towards the white-eyed wolf. This fellow didn't react at all. Could he also absorb the Yin demon's power? Before coming into contact with them, he felt that the reason why Qin Feiyang and the others were terrifying was because of the ruler weapon and slaughter domain. But now that he interacted with them, as his understanding of Qin Feiyang and the others deepened, the shock in his heart became stronger and stronger. These people were all monsters and couldn't be looked at with normal eyes. Boom! Suddenly, there was a loud explosion in front. There's a battle. And it's the aura of a human. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other, their eyes flashing. What's so strange about people fighting in this place? The frenzy shook his head and smiled. No. Pei Tianhong waved his hand. What do you mean? The frenzy was slightly stunned and looked at him suspiciously. If it's a battle between beasts or a battle between beasts and humans, then it's normal. For example, the beasts we met along the way, if it wasn't for us being strong, they would have attacked us long ago. But it's hard to encounter a battle between humans in a place like the Yin Demon Land. Pei Tianhong shook his head. Why? The frenzy was even more confused. Because those who enter the Yin Demon Land are here to find fortuitous encounters and won't easily attack. Because this place is too dangerous, if they attack others, it will only make their situation worse. So, normally speaking, if they meet other people, they will either take a detour or cooperate. Although this cooperation is also using each other, before they find a fortuitous encounter, they won't scheme against each other. After all, one more companion means one more chance of survival. So, in the Yin Demon Land, as long as there is a battle between humans, it's basically because they have found a fortuitous encounter or a divine item. They will fight for these items. Pei Tianhong explained. When the frenzy heard this, he frowned and asked, "You mean, there's a fortuitous encounter or divine item ahead?" Most likely. Pei Tianhong nodded. The frenzy's eyes lit up and he chuckled, "Then what are we waiting for? Old Wang, let's go." Wang Changyuan shook his head and smiled bitterly. There were already 2 Dominator weapons, was there a need to join in the fun? However, he didn't say anything and led them towards the direction of the battle. The white-eyed wolf's eyes flashed and he suddenly looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, "Little Pei, are there many treasures in the Yin Demon Land?" Cough cough. Pei Tianhong coughed and looked helplessly at the white-eyed wolf. "Can you not call me that? I'm a famous person, if others hear this, won't they laugh at me behind my back? Is there a problem with this? Do you think I will call a normal person that? As long as it's someone I approve of, I will call them that." The white-eyed wolf snorted coldly. "So, I have to feel honored?" Pei Tianhong looked at the white-eyed wolf in shock. "Of course." The white-eyed wolf nodded shamelessly. "All right." Pei Tianhong nodded and smiled bitterly. Not only was his ability abnormal, but his personality was also weird. He then said, "There are definitely many divine items in the Yin Demon Land, but there aren't many at the periphery. After all, be it humans or beasts, they are all wandering around the periphery. Since ancient times, who knows how many creatures have entered the Yin Demon Land and most of the treasures have been taken away by them. So, if you want to find divine items and fortuitous encounters in the Yin Demon Land, you have to go to the Central Region, Inner Region, and Core Region. Especially the Core Region, not only are there large amounts of divine items, but it is also said that there are inheritances of the power of laws." Pei Tianhong's eyes had a trace of yearning. Chapter 3362. Inheritance. Qin Feiyang, Frenzy, and the white-eyed wolf all looked at him in shock. "Don't you find it unbelievable? The power of law can be inherited? Pei Tianhong looked at the two of them and the wolf with a trace of pride on his face. Shameless. It's not like we haven't seen it before. The white-eyed wolf pursed his lips. What? You guys have seen an inheritance? This time, it was Pei Tianhong who was stunned. Including Wang Chongyuan. Not to mention seeing the inheritance of the power of law, not many people had even heard of it. This was because everyone thought that the power of law could only be comprehended by oneself. They didn't know that it could be inherited. Seen it before? You're looking down on us. Not only have we seen it before, but one of us has also received the inheritance. The white-eyed wolf smiled mysteriously. Who is it? Pei Tianhong was curious. Far away in the horizon but close in front of you. The white-eyed wolf bared his teeth. Far away in the horizon but close in front of you. Pei Tianhong was stunned and looked at the white-eyed wolf suspiciously. It's you? Me? The white-eyed wolf said with disdain, I'm such an awesome character. Do I still need an inheritance? When it was placed in front of me, I didn't even take a look. Pei Tianhong's mouth twitched. This awesome character scored full marks. But thinking about it, this wolf cub could directly plunder and integrate with the power of law. As long as he focused on the strongest law, there was no need for him to go for other laws. Then it's you guys. Pei Tianhong looked at Qin Feiyang in frenzy. At that time, I didn't want the inheritance either. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. You didn't want it either. Pei Tianhong was stunned. Who exactly were these people? They didn't even want the inheritance placed in front of them. If it was someone else, they would probably burn incense and pray to Buddha. As expected. Demons had the capital to be arrogant. The white-eyed wolf also had enough of keeping them in suspense and smiled, its little frenzy. His law of death is from the inheritance. Are you the only one who talks nonsense? Frenzy stared fiercely. He felt a little embarrassed. Qin Feiyang's karma laws were comprehended by himself, while his death laws were inherited. Didn't this mean that he was inferior to Qin Feiyang? Therefore, when the white-eyed wolf brought up this matter, he did not pay any attention to it. I see. Pei Tianhong was enlightened. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and asked, when the inheritance came, did it come with its own ultimacy? I don't think so. The white-eyed wolf shook its head and looked at Madman, but Madman ignored it. Pei Tianhong was shocked when he heard that. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said, he's stronger than you. Stronger than me? The white-eyed wolf was not convinced. Yeah. Although his law of death was inherited, the fact that he was able to comprehend the fifth profundity so quickly proves that he's indeed more powerful than you. After all, your three great supreme laws were directly plundered. Pei Tianhong said. That makes sense. Madman finally spoke. He looked at the white-eyed wolf and said in disdain, no matter what, I'm still stronger than you. The white-eyed wolf's face darkened. He said angrily, why don't you look at the process and only look at the results? Then you'll probably lose even more miserably. Although you're stronger than me and old Qin now, we're confident that we'll surpass you sooner or later. Madman chuckled. Is that possible? The white-eyed wolf looked at the two in disdain and said proudly, so what if you surpass me in the future? Anyway, I'm stronger than you now. This is a fact that you can't deny. Shameless. Madman snorted. He then looked at Pei Tianhong and asked, then, is there any supreme law inheritance in the core area of the Yin Demon Land? I heard there is. And there are rumors that there are supreme laws that come with their own ultimacy. Pei Tianhong said. What? He has his own supreme profound. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. Qin Feiyang and Madman were the same. If there really was such an inheritance, then the core area of the Yin Demon Land was definitely worth the risk. Of course, this is just a rumor. Because no one from the sky cloud field has been to the core area. Even I am the same. Pei Tianhong shook his head and sighed. Never been there. The 3 people and 1 wolf were stunned. Yes. Because the Yin demon power in the core area is even more terrifying. Not to mention the inner area and core area, even the middle area has 5 times more Yin demon power than here. It's said that the core area has at least 100 times more Yin demon power than here. Even with our cultivation, we can only stroll around the entrance of the inner area. Even in the inner area, we have to refine the Yin demon power in our body every once in a while. But the key point is that your refining speed can't keep up with the speed of it entering your body. So we don't dare to rashly enter the inner area, not to mention the core area. For us, the core area is a place of no return. People from the eastern and eastern continent usually don't have a time and space teleportation divine artifact or time and space laws. If they want to pass through the Yin demon land to the other continent, they have to go around the inner area and the core area. Pei Tianhong explained. So it's like this. Qin Feiyang and the white-eyed wolf nodded. So to be honest, I also want to go in and take a look. Pei Tianhong smiled. The white-eyed wolf chuckled, what's the problem with that? Right now, we'll fulfill your last wish. Last wish? Pei Tianhong's face darkened. He found that he really couldn't chat with this wolf cub. Nothing good came out of his mouth. However, with this wolf cub and madman here, he might be able to fulfill his wish and enter the core area to take a look. At the same time, Wang Changyuan was also looking forward to it. For perfection sovereign realm experts like them who grasp the highest profundities, the core area of the sky cloud realms for forbidden lands was the true forbidden land. Qin Feiyang pondered for a moment before looking at Wang Changyuan and asking, Old Wang, where did you meet Elder Hu last time? The central area. Wang Changyuan didn't even think and directly replied. Clearly, he had a deep impression of what happened back then. Then where did he disappear to? Qin Feiyang asked again. I didn't catch up to him at that time, but according to his trajectory, he should be in the inner area. Wang Changyuan guessed. The inner area, the core area, Qin Feiyang muttered. It seemed like finding the fire dragon wasn't an easy task. The strangest thing was, why was Elder Hua in the Yin demon land? Could it be, suddenly? Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled and his face was filled with bewilderment. What's wrong? The white-eyed wolf and madman looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang looked at them and asked, do you still remember how the fire dragon came to the sky cloud domain? Of course, it was the ice dragon and small beast that asked him to come. Madman nodded. That's right. Since the ice dragon and small beast asked him to come, why did he come to the Yin demon land when the sky cloud domain is so big? Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Madman pondered for a moment before his gaze trembled. He looked at Qin Feiyang and said, you mean, the Yin demon land might be the ice dragon's true lair? What? This is the ice dragon's lair. Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan's bodies trembled as their eyes were filled with fear. If this was really the ice dragon's lair, then wouldn't they be sending themselves to their deaths by coming here? Haha, the white-eyed wolf laughed. What are you laughing at? Pei Tianhong and Madman looked at him in confusion. What was there to be happy about? Enemies are bound to meet, shouldn't I be laughing? The white-eyed wolf sneered. Pei Tianhong and Madman were speechless. This wolf cub was really not afraid of anything. Don't worry, if the ice dragon dares to attack us, he would have already done it himself. Why wait until now? This brother is thinking that if his lair is really hidden here, then there must be a lot of treasures. When the time comes, we can just rob them all. The white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up as he smiled sinisterly. All right. If you want to go, then go. I won't go even if you beat me to death. Wang Changyuan shook his head. Pei Tianhong also agreed with Wang Changyuan for once. What kind of joke was this? What was the difference between robbing the ice dragon's lair and seeking death? Only a fool would do such a thing. Look at your cowardice. The white-eyed wolf looked at the two in disdain. This isn't a matter of cowardice, it's self-awareness. We don't have the strength, so don't provoke him. Besides, what if he attacks you personally? Just thinking about it made Pei Tianhong's scalp numb. Because he had direct contact with the ice dragon, he knew how powerful it was. If the ice dragon was willing to attack, the entire sky cloud realm could be razed to the ground in an instant. Who would want to provoke such a terrifying expert? That makes sense. Although he won't attack us personally, I'm afraid that you too, after all, you too betrayed him. Looking at Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan, the white-eyed wolf laughed sinisterly. Hearing this, the two were even more terrified. That's enough. Don't scare them. Qin Feiyang glared at the white-eyed wolf and looked into the depths of the Yin Demon Land. Whether the ice dragon's lair is here or not, I want to enter the core area to see. I want to see what secrets are hidden inside. Hearing this, Pei Tianhong and Wang Changyuan looked at each other helplessly. Since Qin Feiyang had to go, they could only follow. They only hoped that it wasn't the ice dragon's lair. Otherwise, even if they had 9 lives, it wouldn't be enough to fill the gaps between the ice dragon's teeth. While talking, the battlefield in front was getting closer and closer. There were not only 2 people, but at least a dozen people fighting. The ripples from the battle were like a tide, rolling over. Like an earthquake, the ground was trembling and the mountains were shaking. It seems like they really are peak dominator realm, Wang Changyuan muttered. He decisively activated his law force and formed a barrier, isolating the ripples outside. Otherwise, it would harm Qin Feiyang, Madman, and the white-eyed wolf. They are destroying the Yin Demon Land on such a large scale, don't the beasts here care? Madman frowned. There's no need to care. Because no matter how serious the damage is, everything will automatically return to normal the next day. Pei Tianhong said. Automatically return to normal? Madman was shocked. Wasn't this similar to the God-Demon Forest? The God-Demon Forest was the same. You can destroy it however you want and everything will return to normal. First, it was the evil force and Yin Demon Force, now, it was automatically returning to normal. If one were to say that the Yin Demon Land and Nether King Hell had nothing to do with each other, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.